One minute the fields were clear, the next, hundreds of Comanche warriors were at the fort gates painted for war. For people like Rachel Parker Plummer, a Comanche raid meant watching your family die, brutal captivity, and your entire life ending in an instant. Here's what it was really like to survive the most terrifying attacks on the American frontier. Real quick before we start, if you end up falling asleep to this, hit like so I know it worked, and if you want more of these, subscribe. Also, I actually read comments. Throw in where you're from and what time it is there. Last video had someone in Perth at 2 AM and someone in Oslo at midnight. Pretty wild. Okay, tonight it's Comanche raids on the American frontier, but wait, are you comfortable? No, really, check. Pillows, blankets, the whole deal. Where we're going, you'll want to be settled. The cool morning air hits your face as you open your eyes to darkness. It takes a moment for your vision to adjust to the dim light filtering through the cracks of rough-hewn logs. The hard cornhusk mattress crinkles beneath you as you shift, nothing like your soft memory foam bed you're lying in right now. Your back aches from sleeping on the hard surface. Another day at Parker's Fort in 1836 Texas, the rough wool blanket scratches against your skin as you push it aside. Everyone's still asleep. Your husband, your toddler son, your parents and siblings all tucked into the various corners of the cabin. Privacy is a luxury you don't have on the Texas frontier. Oh, rise and shine, you whisper to yourself. Rachel Parker Plummer, that's who you are. 17 years old, married with an 18-month-old son, and 3 months pregnant with another. And here you are, deep in Comanche territory. This morning is like any other, except it isn't. And deep down, you know it. You feel it too? Your mother whispers from across the room where she's already stoking the fire in the stone hearth. Something's not right today. The spring grass has grown tall outside the fort's walls, perfect for Comanche horses to graze during raids, and last night the moon was full, what settlers around here nervously call the Comanche moon. Two bad signs coming together. Let's back up a bit. This place you're calling home, it's barely a year old. Parker's Fort isn't some massive military stronghold like you might be picturing. It's basically a big wooden rectangle, about an acre in size, with 12-foot walls made of split logs jammed vertically into the ground. Inside are several simple log cabins where you and your extended family live. The fort has 2 entrances, one main gate at the front and a smaller one at the back. James Pratt, you get back here. You chase after your toddler son who's already up and darting around the cabin with the endless energy only small children possess. Your father-in-law, Elder John Parker, keeps reassuring everyone that the local tribes have signed peace treaties. But your father, James Parker, isn't so sure. He's been extra watchful lately, especially with reports of Comanche raids on other settlements. You know what my daddy used to say about peace treaties with the Comanche, your Uncle Silas says at breakfast, spooning corn mush into his mouth. He said it's like making a deal with a tornado to go around your house. The fort's main room fills with nervous laughter. It's not really funny. Everyone knows the Comanche are the most feared warriors on the plains. Stories of their raids have been whispered around cooking fires for years. Enough scary talk, your mother says, looking at the children gathered around the table. Finish up, there's work to be done. After breakfast, most of the men head out to the fields. It's May 19th, and the corn needs tending. You watch your husband Luther shoulder his rifle and kiss you goodbye. Your father and several others follow him through the fort's gate into the fields that stretch out around the settlement. Be careful, you call after them, bouncing James Pratt on your hip. Always am, Luther calls back with a wink. Inside the fort, the day's chores begin. You help your mother with the washing, hauling water from the well, then hanging clothes to dry in the breeze. Little James Pratt plays in the dirt nearby, fascinated by a line of ants marching past the clothes line. Mind the scorpions, you warn him, keeping one eye on his wandering hands. Last month, one of the other children was stung, and the poor thing screamed for hours. Wait, did you hear something? You pause, water bucket in hand, listening. Nothing but the breeze through the oak trees. You're jumpy today, your aunt says, coming up beside you with another load of washing. Can't shake this feeling, you admit. She nods. I feel it too, but we've felt it before, and nothing's come of it. That's the thing about the frontier, you say, resuming your work. The day you stop worrying is the day you should worry most. By midday, the fort settles into its normal routine. Children run and play in the central yard. Women work on food preparation, mending, and other household tasks. The few men who stayed behind repair tools or tend to the animals in the small corral, all normal, all peaceful. But you can't shake that feeling. Every now and then, you glance up at the blockhouse, the small observation post built at the corner of the fort's walls. From there, you can see for miles across the rolling prairie, nothing but grass waving in the wind, no sign of danger, but still. Rachel, come help me with this. Your mother waves you over to where she's kneading dough for the evening bread. Your hands sink into the sticky mass working alongside hers. This simple task, passed from mother to daughter for generations, calms your nerves a bit. Remember when we first came here? Your mother asks. You were so excited to have your own cabin with Luther. You smile at the memory. 2 years ago, you'd been just 15, newly married and full of dreams about your frontier home. The reality turned out to be a lot less romantic. Blistered hands, endless work, and the constant nagging worry about Indian attacks. I was so naive, you say. We all were, your mother replies, her eyes distant. But we're making a life here. It's what Americans do. Push west, build something new. As the afternoon wears on, you check on James Pratt, who's napping in the cabin. His chubby face is peaceful, untroubled by the worries that plague your adult mind. You brush a strand of hair from his forehead and sit beside him, watching his little chest rise and fall. Beyond the fort walls, you hear the men returning from the fields, laughing and talking. The day's work is nearly done. Soon it will be supper, then evening prayers, then sleep. Another day survived on the frontier. But tonight, as you lie in bed listening to the night sounds, the chirp of crickets, the distant howl of wolves, the soft breathing of your family, you can't sleep. Something's coming. You can feel it. The full moon shines through the small window of your cabin, casting silver light across the floor. Comanche moon, the time when they like to raid. The spring grass has grown tall, perfect for their horses. The treaties have been quiet for too long. You roll over, pulling the rough blanket tight around your shoulders and stare at the cabin wall. Tomorrow, you decide. Tomorrow you'll convince Luther to take extra precautions, to keep his rifle closer, to watch the horizon more carefully. You finally drift into an uneasy sleep, unaware that this is your last night of peace, unaware that tomorrow, just after breakfast, your entire world will change forever when you hear the cry from the fields. Indians, 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 Indians. The shout jolts you from sleep like a bucket of ice water. For a split second you're disoriented, wondering if it was part of your dreams. Then it comes again, closer this time. Indians, the Comanche, are coming. Your husband Luther is already up, grabbing his rifle. "Stay here," he orders, voice tight with fear. He runs out the door before you can even respond. "Mama!" James Pratt is awake now, startled by the commotion. You scoop him up, heart hammering against your ribs. Outside, chaos erupts. Men shouting, women screaming, the pounding of feet on dirt. You clutch James Pratt to your chest and rush to the window, peering through the small opening. What you see stops your breath. 1 minute the fields were clear, and the next moment, God in heaven. More Indians than you dreamed possible are in front of the fort. Hundreds of mounted warriors, painted for war, feathers and buffalo horns adorning their heads, weapons glinting in the morning sun. Rachel, your mother bursts through the door. Come quick. You follow her into the central yard of the fort. Everyone's gathered, panic etched on their faces. Your father-in-law, Elder John Parker, is trying to organize the defense, but there aren't enough men. Most are still out in the fields, trying to make it back to safety. They're raising a white flag, someone shouts from the blockhouse. A murmur runs through the crowd. A white flag? Do they want to talk? Your uncle Benjamin Parker, grey-haired and respected by all, steps forward. I'll go speak with them. No, your uncle Silas grabs his arm. It's a trap, Ben. You know it is. Benjamin shakes his head. If they wanted to attack without warning, they would have. Maybe they just want to trade, or talk about the treaties. The walls aren't high enough, Benjamin argues. If they decide to attack, they'll be over them in seconds. Ropes, grappling hooks. We can't defend against hundreds. Our only chance is if I can buy us time. From the blockhouse, someone calls down, "There's 2 of them approaching the gate. Rest are hanging back." "I'm going out," Benjamin decides firmly. You're standing close enough to hear Silas mutter to Benjamin, "If you go out there, they'll kill you." Benjamin just nods, like he's already accepted this fate. Better me than all of us. Get the women and children ready to escape out the back gate. Your father, James Parker, is organizing a defense, placing the few men left inside the fort at strategic points along the walls. Luther's among them, rifle ready. He catches your eye across the yard and mouths something to you. Be ready. You know what that means. If things go bad, run. Get James Pratt to safety. Benjamin walks to the front gate. The heavy wooden barrier creaks open just enough for him to slip through. The fort falls eerily quiet, everyone straining to hear what's happening beyond the walls. You press your son's face against your shoulder, shielding him from the tension around you. Minutes tick by like hours. Then the gate reopens, and Benjamin steps back inside. His face is grim. They say they want a place to camp and water for their horses, he reports to the gathered crowd. They've asked for a cow to butcher. I think they're testing us. Did you believe them? Silas demands. Benjamin hesitates. No, there was something in their eyes. And the others? They were positioning themselves around the fort while we talked. How many? Your father asks. Hundreds, maybe more. Benjamin looks around at the frightened faces. The women and children need to leave, now, out the back gate. Head for the woods. Panic ripples through the crowd. I'm going back out, Benjamin announces. I'll try to buy you more time. Ben! No! Silas grabs his brother's arm again. They'll kill you this time. I know. Benjamin's voice is calm, resigned. He looks around at the gathered families. But you're my family. What else can I do? Silas releases him, understanding in his eyes. At least let me cover you from the wall. Benjamin nods. Then he turns to you, surprisingly. Rachel, run to my cabin. Get my shot pouch. Bring it to Silas. You hesitate, not wanting to leave your son. Go, child. Now. Benjamin's tone leaves no room for argument. You pass James Pratt to your mother and sprint across the yard to Benjamin's cabin. Inside, you frantically search for the shot pouch, knocking things over in your haste. Finally, you spot it hanging by the door. You grab it and run back outside. The yard is even more chaotic now. Women are gathering children, collecting what few valuables they can carry. Men are distributing what weapons they have. You find Silas at the wall, rifle ready. Here, you pant, handing him the pouch. Thank you, Rachel. He slings it over his shoulder, then gives you a hard look. When the shooting starts, you run. You hear me? Don't look back, just run. You nod, throat too tight to speak. Benjamin is at the gate again. Before he goes through, he turns and calls to the men. Mount the fence. Be ready. Then he's gone. You rush back to your mother, taking James Pratt from her arms. She's already packed a small bundle of essentials: food, a blanket, a knife. Stay close to me, she whispers, gripping your arm. From your position, you can just see over the wall. Benjamin is approaching the Comanche leaders again, but something's different this time. The warriors are spreading out, surrounding him. They're getting ready, Silas calls from his post. Everyone, prepare. You clutch James Pratt tighter. His little body is warm against yours, his heart fluttering like a bird's. He doesn't understand what's happening, but he feels your fear. Mama's got you, you whisper against his hair. Mama's right here. Outside, Benjamin's voice rises, then cuts off abruptly. A terrible silence follows. Then the screaming begins. They've killed him, someone shouts. They've killed Benjamin. Silas takes aim with his rifle. The sharp crack of gunfire splits the air. One of the Comanche warriors falls from his horse. Get to the back gate, your father shouts. Go, go, go. Your mother grabs your arm, pulling you toward the small gate at the rear of the fort. Other women and children are already streaming through it, disappearing into the woods beyond. War whoops fill the air, high-pitched and terrifying. The Comanche are attacking in full force now. Some are scaling the walls with ropes, others trying to break down the front gate. Rachel, come on, your mother urges, tugging at your arm. But you're frozen, watching as Silas fires again and again. He downs several warriors before they reach him. Then they're on the walls, leaping into the fort, tomahawks and lances gleaming in the sun. Luther, you cry, searching desperately for your husband in the chaos. He'll find us in the woods, your mother insists, dragging you toward the back gate. We have to go now. Finally, you turn and run, following the stream of women and children fleeing through the back gate. James Pratt bounces against your chest, crying now from the noise and commotion. Outside the fort, the clear morning has turned into a nightmare. People scatter in all directions, running for the tree line about 200 yards away. You follow your mother, racing across the open ground, trying to ignore the screams behind you. Your lungs burn. The weight of James Pratt slows you down. Pregnancy makes your body awkward, clumsy. Keep going, your mother calls over her shoulder. Suddenly, the thunder of hooves surrounds you. Comanche warriors on horseback circle the fleeing settlers, cutting off escape routes. They're whooping, laughing, treating the chase like a game. Oh God, they'd anticipated the escape. This was their plan all along. You see your cousin, young Cynthia Ann Parker, just ahead of you. At 9 years old, she's running as fast as her legs will carry her. A warrior swoops down, snatches her up like she weighs nothing, and throws her across his horse. Rachel, this way. Your mother veers right toward a dense thicket. You follow, stumbling over uneven ground. James Pratt's weight pulls at your arms. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. Almost there, just a few more. pain explodes in your back as something hits you hard, driving you to your knees. James Pratt tumbles from your arms, landing in the dirt with a cry. You scramble to reach him, but a shadow falls over you. Looking up, you see a Comanche warrior on horseback, his face painted in terrifying black and red streaks, his eyes cold as he stares down at you. He's holding a lance, the butt end of which he just used to knock you down. Your mother screams your name, but she's too far away now, being chased by warriors of her own. The Comanche dismounts in one fluid motion. He grabs James Pratt, who's wailing in terror. No, you lunge for your son, but the warrior kicks you back to the ground. You scramble up again, maternal instinct overriding fear. "Give me my baby." The warrior ignores you, tossing James Pratt to another Comanche on horseback. Your son disappears, his cries fading as the horse gallops away. No James. You try to run after them, but the warrior grabs you by your long red hair, yanking you backward. The pain is blinding. You fall again, dirt filling your mouth. Through tear-blurred eyes, you see other settlers still running, still being hunted. Some make it to the trees. Many don't. Rifle shots crack from the direction of the fort. The Comanche warriors duck instinctively, looking back. Is it help? Have neighbours heard the commotion and come to the rescue? Hope surges through you, quickly extinguished when you realise the shots are coming from inside the fort, the last defenders making their final stand. Your captor drags you by your hair toward his horse. You fight, clawing at his hand, kicking at his legs. He strikes you across the face, hard enough that stars burst behind your eyes. Dazed, you can't resist as he throws you onto his horse, belly down across the animal's back. The breath leaves your lungs in a whoosh. The horse moves and you're helpless, hanging like a sack of grain, watching the ground blur beneath you. More shots ring out, closer this time. Your captor wheels his horse around and you catch a glimpse of Silas outside the fort now, firing his rifle at the retreating Comanche. 4 warriors charge him. He shoots one, then another falls. Then they're on him. You squeeze your eyes shut, unable to watch. The horse gallops hard, jostling you painfully with each stride. You open your eyes again as the fort comes back into view. The scene is chaos, warriors swarming over the walls, smoke rising from buildings set ablaze, bodies litter the ground. Is Luther among them? Your father? You can't tell from this distance through your tears. The rifle shots have stopped, the last defenders have fallen. Your captor reins his horse to a stop near the front gate. Other warriors gather around, some with captives like you. You recognise Elizabeth Kellogg, your aunt, looking as terrified as you feel. There's little John Parker, Cynthia Ann's brother, just 6 years old, crying silently. Cynthia Ann herself is oddly calm, staring wide-eyed at her captors with something like fascination. The warriors seem gentler with the children, letting them sit upright on the horses rather than dangling like you and Elizabeth. You strain to lift your head, searching for any sign of James Pratt. There, you spot him, being held by a Comanche woman on horseback. He's stopped crying, sucking his thumb as he always does when frightened. "James," you call out, voice breaking. "James Pratt." He turns at your voice, his little face lighting up. "Mama." The Comanche woman holding him says something sharp to your captor. He responds with a laugh, then slaps the rump of your horse, sending it forward into the fort. Inside, your worst nightmares have come to life. Bodies everywhere, blood soaking the ground. The cabins you called home ransacked, possessions scattered. And there, just inside the gate, lies Benjamin. His body is riddled with arrows, his scalp taken, leaving a red ruin where his grey hair had been. Each warrior that passes jabs another spear into his corpse, a show of contempt. You wretch, bile burning your throat. The warrior laughs at your distress. He reins his horse to a stop and roughly pulls you off, dropping you to the ground next to Benjamin's mutilated body. The fall knocks the wind from you again. You curl into yourself, trying to protect your unborn child, trying not to look at your uncle's remains. But your captor grabs your hair again, forcing you to look. He gestures from Benjamin to you, making his meaning clear, even without words. This is what happens to those who resist. You're frozen with terror, convinced your death is next. Instead, he binds your wrists with rawhide strips cutting into your skin. Then he leaves you there, going to join the others who are ransacking the fort. Blood trickles down your face from where he struck you. Your scalp burns where he pulled your hair. Your back throbs from the lance blow. But all you can think about is James Pratt, your baby, now in the hands of these people who just slaughtered your family. More shots ring out in the distance. Is it possible? Has help finally arrived? The Comanche warriors pause in their looting, listening. One shouts orders, and suddenly they're moving with purpose, gathering their plunder, mounting their horses. The warrior who captured you returns, grabbing your bound wrists and dragging you to your feet. He pulls you toward his horse. More gunfire, definitely closer. The warriors are hurrying now. Hope flares in your chest. If you can delay, if help arrives in time, your captor senses your resistance. He yanks you forward, then slaps you hard across the face when you stumble. Blood fills your mouth where your teeth cut into your cheek. He throws you over his horse again and mounts behind you. The animal moves beneath you, joining the exodus from the fort. As they ride out through the gates, you twist your head for one last look at what had been your home. Smoke rises from the cabins. Bodies lie where they fell. Everything your family built destroyed in less than an hour. The Comanche force regroups outside the fort. Warriors are counting their spoils. Horses taken from the corral, weapons stripped from the dead, food and supplies from the cabins. And captives. You count 5. Yourself, Elizabeth, Cynthia Ann, John, and James Pratt. He's still with the Comanche woman, reaching for you when he sees you. Mama, mama. You try to call back, but your captor cuffs you on the ear, a warning to be silent. Rifle fire again, this time close enough that you can hear shouts accompanying the shots. The warriors respond instantly, forming into groups ready to flee in different directions. To your horror, you realize what's about to happen. They're splitting up, taking different routes to confuse pursuers, which means, no, please. You twist, trying to see where James Pratt is going. The woman holding him is riding with a different group, already moving away. Your captor holds you firmly as his horse breaks into a gallop. You strain against his grip, watching over his shoulder as your son disappears from view. James, you scream, not caring about the punishment that will come. But your son is gone, taken in a different direction, and the last hope of rescue fades as the warriors skillfully evade the belated response from neighboring settlements. The sound of gunfire recedes. The fort shrinks in the distance. And you, Rachel Parker Plummer, age 17, pregnant with your second child, are carried away into captivity, leaving behind everything and everyone you've ever known. The long nightmare has only just begun. The world shrinks to the rhythm of hoofbeats, up and down, your body, thrown across the horse like a sack of grain, absorbs every jolt, ribs bruised, stomach churning. The blood rushes to your head, making your temples throb. How long have you been riding? Hours, at least. The sun has moved across the sky. Your mouth is desert dry, lips cracked and bleeding. No one has offered water. No one has spoken to you. You drift in and out of awareness, the pain in your body mingling with the agony in your heart. James Pratt, your baby boy, taken in another direction with another band of warriors. Will you ever see him again? Luther, your father, Silas, Benjamin, are they dead or searching for you even now? The uncertainty is another form of torture. The Comanche ride with incredible skill, sometimes standing upright on their horses while at full gallop. They communicate in short barks and whistles, a language you don't understand. Occasionally, they laugh. At what? You can't tell. Your captor finally slows his horse. The band has reached a small creek, the first water since leaving the fort. He roughly pulls you off the horse and dumps you on the ground. Your legs, numb from the awkward position, buckle beneath you. "Oh, water," you croak, gesturing to the creek. "Please." He ignores you, leading his horse to drink. You crawl toward the water, your bound hands making it awkward. No one stops you, so you continue until you reach the creek bank. Lowering your face to the surface, you drink greedily, the cool water a blessing on your parched throat. You sit up, wiping your mouth on your shoulder since your hands are bound. Looking around, you see Elizabeth Kellogg nearby, also drinking from the creek. Her face is bruised, her dress torn and dirty. "Elizabeth," you whisper, scooting closer to her. "Are you hurt?" "Alive," she whispers back. "That's all I can say for certain." She looks around fearfully at the warriors, who are watering their horses and talking among themselves. "Have you seen the others?" "They took James Pratt in another direction," your voice breaks. "Cynthia Ann and John too, I think." Elizabeth nods grimly. "Dividing us up makes rescue harder." A shadow falls over you. Your captor has returned, water dripping from his long black hair. He's younger than you first thought, maybe 20. His face is painted with black stripes across his cheekbones and red handprints mark his chest. He barks something at you, gesturing for you to stand. You struggle to your feet, legs still numb and tingling. "My son," you say, knowing he won't understand but unable to stop yourself. "Where is my son? James Pratt, my baby." He stares at you blankly, then grabs your bound wrists and pulls you back toward his horse. "Wait!" you resist, digging in your heels. "Please, just tell me if my son is safe." His response is a sharp slap that sends you reeling. Before you can recover, he tosses you back onto his horse and mounts behind you. The brief rest is over. The band moves on, traveling at the same punishing pace. You try to keep track of directions, landmarks, anything that might help if you get a chance to escape. But the terrain is unfamiliar. Rolling hills giving way to flatter plains, stands of oak and elm trees along creek beds, tall grass bending in the wind. As dusk approaches, the warriors finally halt in a small valley beside another creek. This time, they make camp. Women, you hadn't noticed them before, but they've been traveling with the band, begin setting up small hide tents called teepees. Your captor pulls you off his horse and pushes you toward the women. One of them, older than the rest with grey streaks in her long hair, grabs your arm and pulls you toward a teepee. Inside, she points to a pile of skins on the ground, your bed apparently, and hands you a strip of dried meat. You're too thirsty to eat. "Water?" you mime drinking. She leaves and returns with a skin bag of water. You drink deeply, then nibble at the meat. It's tough and gamey, like nothing you've tasted before, but hunger overrides disgust. The woman watches you with obvious disdain. She says something that sounds like a command, pointing to a stack of wood near the central fire pit. You understand. They expect you to work. Captive doesn't mean guest. Setting down the food, you move to gather the wood, arranging it in the pit as you would at home. The woman nods, approving your work if not your presence. Night falls quickly. Outside you hear the warriors talking, celebrating their successful raid. Sometimes laughter erupts, and you wonder what trophies they're showing each other. Scalps? Possessions stolen from your home? You shudder, trying to block the images from your mind. You're not the only captive in the camp. Through the teepee opening, you spot Elizabeth being led to another shelter. Your eyes meet briefly, a flash of shared terror and grief passing between you before she disappears inside. "How many days will you travel?" Where are they taking you? Will anyone be able to follow your trail? Questions circle in your exhausted mind as you curl up on the pile of skins. Your body aches. Your wrists are raw from the bindings. Your heart is a hollow cave where hope used to live. Sleep won't come. Every sound startles you, the crackle of the fire, the stamp of horses outside, the murmur of voices in a language you don't understand. The old woman sleeps across the fire from you, her breathing deep and regular. Your captor doesn't come to the teepee. Perhaps he sleeps elsewhere or stands guard, or perhaps he doesn't fear you'll escape. Where would you go, alone in unknown territory, pregnant and unarmed? Dawn breaks too soon. Camp stirs to life around you. The old woman kicks your foot to wake you, though you've barely slept. She points to a stack of hides and grunts something. More work. You rise stiffly, your body protesting every movement. Your pregnancy makes itself known with a wave of nausea. You swallow hard, fighting it down. Showing weakness won't help you survive. Over the next few hours, you learn your first lessons in Comanche life. The women do all the work. Setting up and taking down camp, preparing food, tanning hides, making clothes and moccasins. The men hunt and raid and fight, and captives, they do the worst jobs of all. The old woman, your new mistress, you realize, puts you to work immediately, scraping a fresh buffalo hide with a bone tool. The work is hard, the hide heavy and awkward. When you slow down, she strikes you with a stick. When you stop to rest, she strikes harder. "I'm pregnant," you try to explain, gesturing to your belly. "With child." She either doesn't understand or doesn't care. The stick comes down again. By midday, your hands are blistered and raw. The smell of the fresh hide makes your nausea worse, but you keep working. Survival means obedience, at least for now. The warriors are preparing to move on. Teepees come down. Horses are gathered. In less than an hour, the entire camp is packed and mounted, ready to travel. This time, you don't ride with your captor. Instead, you're made to walk beside the old woman's horse, holding onto a rope tied to the saddle. If you fall behind, the rope yanks painfully at your wrists. If you stumble, no one stops. The first mile isn't so bad. The second is harder. By the third, your legs shake with every step. By the fifth, you're moving on pure determination. The sixth mile nearly breaks you, but somehow you keep going. Hours pass. The sun climbs high, then begins its descent. Still, you walk. Elizabeth, you gasp when you spot her in the line of horses and captives. She too is walking, tied to another woman's horse. "Stay strong," she whispers as she passes. "They're watching to see who breaks." You nod, gathering what little strength remains. You won't break. Not today. Not while your son is out there somewhere, needing his mother. The band travels until dusk again, covering what must be 20 miles or more. When they finally stop to camp, you collapse on the ground, unable to move. The old woman kicks you, ordering you up to help with the teepee. When you can't rise, she kicks again, harder. Suddenly your captor is there saying something sharp to the old woman. She argues back, gesturing angrily at you. He cuts her off with a raised hand, then bends down to examine you. You flinch away from his touch, expecting another blow. Instead, he lifts your chin, looking at your face, your eyes. Whatever he sees there must concern him, because he barks an order to a nearby boy who runs off and returns with a water skin. The warrior holds it to your lips. You drink gratefully, the water bringing you back from the edge of delirium. When you've had enough, he hands you a piece of pemmican, a mixture of dried meat, fat, and berries pounded together. The rich food revives you further. He says something else to the old woman, who responds with obvious displeasure but stops trying to make you work. Instead, she sets up the teepee herself, muttering the whole time. You don't understand this small mercy from your captor. Is it genuine concern or merely protecting his property? Either way, you're grateful for the respite. That night, you sleep deeply, your body too exhausted to maintain vigilance. In the morning, your captor examines you again, checking your feet, your face. You're painfully sunburned, your fair skin unaccustomed to hours of direct exposure. Your feet are blistered and bleeding through your thin house shoes, never meant for walking such distances. He disappears and returns with something in his hands, moccasins made of soft deer hide. He drops them beside you, then points to your feet. A gift, or just ensuring you can keep up today? You slip them on gratefully. They fit surprisingly well, the soft leather cushioning your ravaged feet. When you stand, the pain is still there, but muted. Survivable. "Thank you," you say. The words awkward in this place of enemies. He doesn't respond, already turning away to prepare for the day's journey. The pattern repeats over the next several days. Travel from dawn until dusk. Make camp, work until you drop. Sleep, rise, and do it all again. Sometimes you ride, strapped to a travois, a frame of poles dragged behind a horse. Sometimes you walk. Always you move northwest, deeper into Comanche territory. You learn to find small mercies, a sip of clean water, a moment of rest in the shade, the absence of a beating. You learn to hide your tears, to swallow your protests. You learn that survival means becoming someone else, someone harder, someone who doesn't think too much about what she's lost. Elizabeth is your lifeline. Whenever your paths cross in camp, you exchange quick whispers of encouragement. Stay alive. Don't give up. Help will come. Whether either of you believes these things doesn't matter. The words themselves are a comfort. You have no idea how far you've travelled. 50 miles? 100? The landscape has changed, becoming drier, more rugged. Water is scarcer, the creeks smaller and farther apart. Game is plentiful. Buffalo in the distance, deer in the wooded areas, rabbits in the grass. The warriors hunt daily, bringing in fresh meat that the women prepare. You begin to pick up words in their language. Water is pa. Fire is kutsu, horse is puku. You learn that your captor's name sounds like Walking Wolf, though you're not sure if that's a direct translation or just what it sounds like to your ears. The old woman remains harsh, working you until you can barely stand, but sometimes, when the men aren't looking, she shows you how to do things the Comanche way, how to prepare a hide properly, how to tell which plants are edible, how to move silently through the grass. Are these kindnesses, or just making you a more useful slave? You can't tell. On the 10th day, or is it the 12th, time has lost meaning. Something changes. The band meets up with another group of Comanche. There's much celebration, warriors greeting each other with whoops and demonstrations of horsemanship. Your heart leaps. Could James Pratt be with this group? You scan the newcomers desperately, looking for any sign of your son. There are other captives. You can tell by their downcast eyes and bound hands, but no children that you can see. Elizabeth appears beside you, her face tense with the same hope. "Do you see them?" she whispers. You shake your head, tears threatening. "No, not among these. There are other bands," she says, trying to sound hopeful. "Maybe they're with one of those." The two groups merge, setting up a larger camp than you've seen so far. That night there's a feast and celebration. The warriors dance around a great fire, reenacting their successful raids. You and Elizabeth sit at the edge of the circle, guarded by the old woman who rarely lets you out of her sight. "I'm going to escape," Elizabeth whispers, her mouth barely moving. "Tonight, while they're distracted." Your heart pounds. "Where will you go?" "East. Always east. That's where home is." "They'll catch you," you warn, "and kill you. Better that than what awaits us wherever they're taking us." Elizabeth's eyes are hard, determined. "Come with me, Rachel. For a moment, you're tempted, so tempted, but then your hand goes to your belly, to the child growing there. And you think of James Pratt, somewhere out there with another band. If you escape and make it home, how will you ever find him? I can't, you say finally. My children. Elizabeth nods, understanding in her eyes. If I make it back, I'll tell them where to look for you. East of the sunset, you say. That's all I know. It's enough. They'll find you, Rachel. Your father won't stop looking. You squeeze her hand quickly, then release it as a warrior glances your way. Be careful. The celebration continues late into the night. Warriors drink a fermented beverage that makes them louder, wilder. They recount their exploits, counting coup, touching enemies without killing them, a sign of bravery, and displaying trophies. You try not to look, but can't help seeing scalps hanging from belts, personal items taken from settlers. Is that Luther's knife? Your father's tobacco pouch? You close your eyes, blocking out the sights, the sounds. The old woman eventually takes you back to her teepee, securing you to a center pole with a rawhide rope. She's learned not to trust you unbound at night. Before she settles down to sleep, she checks the knots, making sure you can't slip free. You lie awake, listening to the sounds of the camp gradually quieting as the celebration winds down. Will Elizabeth make it? What will they do when they discover she's gone? Morning brings your answer. The camp erupts in angry shouts. Warriors mount their horses, riding out in all directions. The women gather, talking rapidly, pointing. Elizabeth is gone. Your heart soars for her, even as fear settles in your stomach. They'll punish you for her escape. Assume you knew about it, which of course you did. Walking Wolf strides into the teepee, his face thunderous. He grabs you by the hair, dragging you outside. Other warriors gather around as he throws you to the ground. Where? He demands in broken English, the first word you've heard him speak in your language. Where she go? You shake your head, feigning ignorance. I don't know. I was asleep. He slaps you hard, splitting your lip. Lie, you know? The gathered warriors mutter angrily. One steps forward with a knife, making his intentions clear. They'll torture you for information. You close your eyes, preparing for pain. At least Elizabeth has a chance. At least one of you might make it home. A commotion at the edge of camp interrupts the interrogation. Warriors ride in, dragging something behind them. No, someone. Elizabeth. They didn't even have to track her. A neighbouring band of Comanches spotted her just after sunrise, wandering alone on the prairie, and brought her back. They throw her at Walking Wolf's feet. She's barely conscious, her face bloody, one eye swollen shut. They've already beaten her severely for her escape attempt. Walking Wolf looks from Elizabeth to you, understanding dawning in his eyes. He knows you were in on it, but with Elizabeth recaptured, his anger seems to cool. He barks orders to the other warriors who drag Elizabeth away. You never see her again. Later, you learn that Elizabeth was traded to another band the very same day, ensuring the two of you would have no further chances to plot escape together. It's a pattern you'll come to recognize. Captives are frequently separated, traded between bands to prevent exactly what you and Elizabeth attempted. That night, alone in the old woman's teepee, you allow yourself a brief moment of despair. Elizabeth is gone, James Pratt is gone, you are utterly alone among your enemies. But then you feel it, a flutter in your belly, your unborn child making its presence known. You're not completely alone after all. We'll survive this, you whisper, hand on your stomach. Somehow. The band moves on the next day, continuing northwest. You've lost track of the days, but it must be approaching a month since the raid on Parker's Fort, a month since your world ended and this strange new existence began. You've changed in that month. Your skin has darkened from constant exposure to the sun. Your hands have calloused from endless work. Your body has grown leaner, harder, except for your slowly swelling belly. You've learned to move quietly, to anticipate commands before they're given, to find food and water in this harsh landscape. You're still a captive, still an enemy, but you're learning to be a survivor. And somewhere out there, so is James Pratt. The thought of him keeps you going when nothing else can. Your son needs you to stay alive, to stay strong. So that's what you'll do, one day at a time, until help comes or you find your own way to freedom. Because you are Rachel Parker Plummer and you will not break. Seasons change on the plains. The scorching summer heat gives way to cooler autumn days. The tall grass turns golden, then brown. Your body changes too, your pregnancy becoming more visible with each passing week. You've lost track of time. 3 months? 4? It's hard to be certain. The Comanche don't mark time the way white settlers do. There are no Sundays, no church bells, no calendars. There is only the rhythm of the band's movement, following game and water, setting up camp only to break it down again days or weeks later. By now, you've learned enough of their language to understand basic commands. You know when they're planning to move camp, when a hunt is successful, when danger threatens. You can't hold a conversation, but you can survive. The old woman, Nahima, you've learned to call her, has become your constant companion, though not by choice. You belong to her son, Walking Wolf, but she oversees your daily life. She works you hard, expecting perfection in tasks you've only just learned. But there's a grudging respect growing between you. Sometimes when you master a particularly difficult skill, you catch a glimmer of approval in her weathered face. Faster, she grunts in Comanche, watching you scrape a buffalo hide. Like this. She demonstrates the proper technique, her arms moving in swift, sure strokes. You copy her movements, your muscles burning with effort. The work is endless. Preparing food, gathering firewood, fetching water, making pemmican, tanning hides, sewing clothing. From sunrise to sunset, you labor alongside the other women of the band. There are other captives you've discovered, a Mexican woman who was taken years ago and now has a Comanche husband and children, a young man from another tribe who serves as a slave for one of the warriors. They rarely speak to you. Captives learn quickly that forming bonds is dangerous. Allies can be used against you or traded away without warning. Your belly grows larger, more unwieldy. The child within kicks strongly, a reminder that you're not completely alone. You wonder if it's a boy or girl. You wonder if you'll be allowed to keep it. One night, as you sit by the fire outside Nahima's teepee, Working Wolf approaches. He's been gone for days on a hunting expedition, returning with several deer carcasses slung over his horse. He squats beside you, studying your swollen belly with interest. Soon, he says in Comanche, making a rocking motion with his arms. You nod, understanding his meaning. The baby will come soon. He says something to his mother, who responds with a torrent of words. They argue briefly, Walking Wolf's voice rising. Finally, Nahima falls silent, her mouth set in a disapproving line. Walking Wolf turns back to you. You keep, he says in halting English, if strong. Your heart leaps. He'll let you keep your baby if it's healthy, if it's strong. Not like James Pratt, torn from your arms the day of the raid. The thought of your firstborn sends a fresh wave of pain through you. Is he still alive? Has he been adopted into another band? Does he remember you? These questions haunt your dreams, but in waking hours you focus on survival, on the child growing inside you, on enduring one more day. Winter settles over the plains. The Comanche move their camp to a sheltered valley where the wind is less brutal. Game is scarcer now. The warriors must ride farther to hunt. Sometimes they return empty-handed, and everyone goes hungry. You learn to conserve your energy during these lean times. You learn which plants can be dug from beneath the snow and eaten. You learn to make your portions last, to save scraps for when hunger gnaws most fiercely at your belly. The baby is due any day now. Your body feels ready to burst. Walking becomes difficult. Even simple chores leave you breathless. Nahima watches you closely, her expert eyes assessing. She has delivered many babies in her long life. She knows the signs. The pains begin during the darkest hours of night. You wake gasping, clutching your swollen belly. Nahima is instantly alert, moving to your side. She feels your stomach, nods, and helps you to a seated position on a pile of buffalo robes. She places a stick between your teeth. "Bite," she commands. "No scream." You understand. Weakness is not tolerated here, even in childbirth. The labor is long, agonizing. Hours pass as your body works to bring forth new life. Nahima stays with you, her calloused hands surprisingly gentle as she checks your progress, positions you properly, presses on your belly to help the baby descend. Dawn breaks. The stick between your teeth is splintered from the force of your bite. Your body is slick with sweat despite the winter cold, and still the baby does not come. Nahima's face grows concerned. She speaks to another woman who has entered the teepee, her words too rapid for you to follow. The woman leaves and returns with an infusion of herbs which Nahima makes you drink. It tastes bitter, vile, but you swallow it all. The contractions intensify, becoming nearly unbearable. You bear down with all your remaining strength, determined to bring this child into the world, to have something, someone that belongs to you again. With a final, tremendous push, the baby slides free of your body. Nahima catches it, clears its mouth and nose, and gives it a sharp slap. A cry fills the teepee, strong, indignant, alive. "Boy," Nahima announces, cleaning the infant with soft rabbit skins. She wraps him in a small hide blanket and places him in your trembling arms. You gaze down at your son, tears blurring your vision. He has Luther's nose, your chin. His eyes are scrunched closed, his tiny fists waving in protest at his abrupt entry into the world. "Luther," you whisper, naming him for his father. "Luther Thomas Plummer." Exhausted but triumphant, you cradle your newborn son against your chest. He roots around, seeking milk, and you guide him to your breast. The sensation of him nursing sends another wave of tears down your cheeks, joy mingled with the ache of remembering James Pratt as an infant. Walking Wolf enters the teepee, alerted to the birth. He examines the baby critically, checking his limbs, his cry, his grasp. Apparently satisfied with what he sees, he nods to you. "Strong," he says. You keep. Relief floods through you. For now, at least, your son will stay with you. It's more mercy than you expected in this harsh place. The days that follow are both easier and harder. Nahima allows you some rest to recover from the birth, but soon you're expected to resume your duties, baby strapped to your back in a cradle board. Little Luther thrives despite the difficult circumstances. He nurses vigorously, sleeps soundly, and rarely cries, as if he somehow knows that crying might endanger him here. You learn to work with him secured to your body, to gather firewood while keeping him shielded from the winter wind, to tan hides while singing softly to him in English, determined that he will know his true language, his true heritage, even in this place. Winter, deepens. The cold becomes a living thing, seeping into the teepees despite the fires, freezing water in the stream overnight, making every movement painful. The band hunkers down, conserving resources, waiting for spring. Stories are told around the fires at night, tales of great hunts, mighty warriors, and ancestral spirits. You listen, picking up more of the language, learning the Comanche way of seeing the world. You notice something strange as the weeks pass. The other women begin to include you in their conversations, teaching you words, showing you better ways to perform your tasks. Children who once threw stones at you now watch curiously as you care for little Luther. Even Nahima seems to regard you differently, less as property, more as a woman who has earned a measure of respect by bringing new life into the band and facing hardship without breaking. You are still a captive, still an enemy, but something has shifted. Spring arrives suddenly, the plains exploding into green almost overnight. New plants emerge from the soil. Birds return from their winter journeys. Buffalo calves wobble beside their massive mothers. The band celebrates with a feast, thanking the spirits for surviving another winter. Little Luther is growing quickly, his dark eyes alert, taking in everything around him. At 4 months old, he can roll over, grab at objects, and recognize your voice instantly. You speak to him constantly in English when others aren't near, telling him stories about his father, his brother James Pratt, the home he's never known. Someday, you whisper to him at night, "We'll go home, I promise." But as spring ripens into summer, you begin to wonder where home is now. Parker's fort is destroyed. Your husband and father may be dead. James Pratt is lost to you. The world you knew seems as distant as the stars. The band moves frequently now, following the buffalo herds. You've become adept at quickly breaking down and setting up the teepee, packing and unpacking your few possessions. Your body has grown lean and strong from constant work and travel. You can ride bareback now, little Luther secured to your body with strips of hide. You can identify edible plants, track game, start a fire with flint, skills you never imagined needing as a settler's wife. One day, as the band makes camp near a shallow river, Walking Wolf approaches you. He's been watching you more closely lately, evaluating something. You've learned to be wary of his attention. "Come," he says, gesturing for you to follow. Securing Luther to your back, you obey, following Walking Wolf to where several warriors are gathered around a fresh deer carcass. To your surprise, he hands you a knife. A good one, metal, probably taken from a settler during a raid. "Show," he commands. You understand what he wants. A test of your skills, your usefulness. Taking the knife, you kneel beside the deer. With practiced movements, you begin to skin and butcher it, just as you've watched the Comanche women do dozens of times. Your cuts are clean, efficient, wasting nothing. You separate meat from organs, set aside the hide for tanning, preserve what can be saved for tools or containers. Walking Wolf watches your work with approval. When you finish, he nods and says something to the other warriors. There are murmurs of agreement. That night, something unexpected happens. Rather than eating apart from the others as captives do, you're invited to join the main fire. Nahima places a choice portion of deer meat on a piece of hide and hands it to you. The significance isn't lost on you. It's the kind of portion usually reserved for valued members of the band. You've passed some threshold, crossed some invisible line. You're still not one of them, never that. But you're more than just a slave now. You've earned a place, however tenuous. Weeks pass. Little Luther grows ever stronger. He's starting to sit up on his own, to babble sounds that aren't quite words. The band continues its nomadic existence, following game and water across the vast plains. You learn more of their language every day. Enough now to understand conversations, to participate in simple exchanges, and then, one hot summer day, everything changes again. The band has made camp near a large creek, the water cool and refreshing after days of travel under the burning sun. You're at the water's edge, washing hides while Luther plays on a blanket nearby when Nahima approaches. Her face is grave, her eyes avoiding yours. "Come," she says, taking Luther from the blankets. "Walking Wolf wants you." A chill runs through you despite the heat. Something's wrong. You follow Nahima back to camp, fear building with each step. Walking Wolf is waiting outside his teepee. Beside him stands another warrior, older, more elaborately dressed, clearly important within the band. They're deep in conversation, but fall silent when they see you approach. Walking Wolf gestures for you to stand before them. The older warrior circles you slowly, examining you as one might examine a horse for purchase, and then you understand you're being sold. "No," you say, the word escaping before you can stop it. You look desperately from Walking Wolf to Nahima, who still holds Luther. "Please, my son." Walking Wolf's face is impassive. The negotiation has already taken place. The decision is made. "You go," he says in English, "with broken lance." He points to the older warrior. "My baby," you plead. "Luther comes with me." Walking Wolf shakes his head. "Boy stays with us." The world spins around you. Not again. Not a second son torn from your arms. You can't bear it. No. You lunge toward Nahima, trying to grab Luther. Warriors step between you, holding you back as you struggle wildly. "He's mine, my son." Nahima turns away, carrying Luther into the teepee. His bewildered cries tear at your heart. You fight against the hands restraining you, screaming, calling Luther's name. The warriors hold you easily, unmoved by your desperation. Broken Lance watches the scene with cold eyes. He says something to Walking Wolf, who nods. A trade adjustment, perhaps. A captive who fights is worth less. They drag you to Broken Lance's horse, bind your wrists to the saddle. You continue to struggle, to cry out for your son, but it's useless. No one intervenes. No one shows mercy. As Broken Lance mounts his horse, preparing to leave with his new property, you catch one last glimpse of the teepee where Luther disappeared, where your second son will grow up never knowing his true mother, his true people, his true name. The horse moves forward. Camp recedes behind you. Your heart shatters into 1,000 jagged pieces, each one cutting deeper than any knife could. This, you think numbly, is what it means to be a captive on the frontier. This is what it means to survive a Comanche raid. You live, but everything that makes life worth living is stripped away, piece by piece, child by child. But even in this darkest moment, something inside you refuses to surrender completely. A spark remains, buried beneath grief and rage, a voice that whispers, "Stay alive. Endure, find a way." Because as long as you draw breath, there's a chance, however small, that you might see your sons again, that you might reclaim what was taken, that you might someday find your way home. It's this spark, this stubborn refusal to break, that has kept countless captives going through unimaginable hardships on the American frontier. It's what will sustain you in the days, weeks, months ahead as you adapt to yet another captor, another band, another existence. The horse carries you away from all you've come to know over the past year, toward an unknown future with Broken Lance's people. You don't know where they're camped, what new hardships await you there, what purpose he has in mind for his new captive. But you are Rachel Parker Plummer. You've survived the raid, the forced march, the birth, the winter, and somehow you'll survive this too. Even as tears stream down your face, even as your heart bleeds for the son left behind, you begin to plan, to watch, to learn. This is not the end of your story. Not yet. Broken Lance's band camps 3 days' ride from Walking Wolf's people, 3 days of silent travel through rolling plains. The summer sun beating down mercilessly, 3 days of grief so profound you feel hollow, as if someone has scooped out your insides and left nothing but an empty shell. Your second son gone, just like your first. Broken Lance rarely speaks to you. He's older than Walking Wolf, perhaps 50, with deep lines etched around his eyes and a scar that runs from his temple to his jaw. His status in the new band is immediately apparent from how others defer to him, step aside when he passes. You've traded up in value, it seems, from an ordinary warrior's captive to the property of a chief. The camp appears on the horizon late on the third day, a cluster of teepees along a winding stream, horses grazing in the tall grass nearby. As you approach, people emerge to greet Broken Lance, curious eyes fixing on you, the new white captive. A woman steps forward, middle-aged, wearing an elaborately beaded dress, her black hair streaked with grey. From the way she carries herself, from how Broken Lance greets her with a nod of respect, you guess she's his wife. She examines you with cool assessment, noting your worn dress, your bound hands, the dried tears on your cheeks. She says something to Broken Lance, who responds briefly. Then she approaches you, cutting the bindings on your wrists. "I am Stone Flower," she says in clear, if accented English. "You belong to me now." The surprise must show on your face. She smiles thinly. "Yes, I speak your tongue. I lived among your people as a girl." She doesn't elaborate on how or why. It will make things easier. Easier for whom? You wonder. "Come," she commands, turning toward the largest teepee. "You need water and food, then we talk." You follow her, legs stiff from the long ride. The camp is similar to Walking Wolf's in layout, but larger, with perhaps 30 teepees arranged in a rough circle. Children pause in their play to stare at you. Women look up from their work, whisper to each other. Inside Stone Flower's teepee, she hands you a water skin and points to a pile of furs where you can sit. You drink deeply, then accept the pemmican she offers. Your stomach has been empty for too long to refuse food, even in your grief. Stone Flower seats herself across from you, studying your face. "They took your child," she says bluntly. You flinch, then nod, surprised that she knows. It happens. The strong survive. Her voice is matter-of-fact, without compassion. "I lost 2 sons to Ute raiders. They were older than yours, old enough to scream my name as they were dragged away. Is this meant to be comfort, to tell you others have suffered worse? If so, it fails. Now," she continues, "you will work for me. Cook, clean, tan hides. Do as I say without complaint, and your life will be tolerable. Disobey, and it will not." She leans forward, her dark eyes hard. "Understand?" You nod again, not trusting your voice. "Good. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow you work." She shows you a small section of the teepee that will be yours, a space barely large enough for you to lie down, separated from the main area by a hide partition. It's more privacy than you had with Nahima, at least. That night, alone on your thin pallet of furs, you finally allow yourself to weep openly for your lost sons. The grief comes in waves, threatening to drown you. You press your face into the furs to muffle your sobs, mindful of Stone Flower and Broken Lance sleeping on the other side of the partition. Morning comes too soon. Stone Flower rouses you at first light, handing you a wooden bowl filled with a corn and bean mixture. You eat quickly, then follow her outside to begin your new routine. Life in Broken Lance's band follows a similar pattern to what you knew with Walking Wolf, but there are differences. This band is more settled, staying in one location for weeks at a time rather than constantly moving. They farm a little, small plots of corn and beans near the stream, in addition to hunting, and they're wealthier, with more horses, more metal tools, more trade goods. Your work is familiar. cooking, cleaning, fetching water, tanning hides, but Stoneflower is a more demanding mistress than Nahima. She expects perfection and has no patience for mistakes. When you spill a pot of stew, she strikes you with a stick. When you tear a hide while scraping it, she withholds food. Clumsy, she hisses, worthless. But beneath her harsh treatment, there's something else, a testing. She's pushing you, watching to see if you'll break. You sense that your response to her cruelty matters, though you don't yet understand why. The days blend into weeks. Summer heat gives way to cooler autumn air. You establish a new routine, learn the rhythms of this camp, the personalities of its inhabitants. Some are cruel to you, some indifferent, a few occasionally kind, slipping you extra food or lighter work when Stoneflower isn't watching. You learn that Broken Lance is an important war chief, respected for his many victories against enemies, both other tribes and white settlers. His tipi is decorated with trophies of these battles, weapons, shields, the occasional scalp. You try not to look at these grim souvenirs, try not to wonder if any belong to your family. Stoneflower, you discover, was once a captive herself, taken from another tribe as a girl, eventually becoming Broken Lance's wife. Perhaps this explains her harshness toward you. She survived by becoming more Comanche than the Comanche, by erasing her former self completely. She expects you to do the same. But you refuse to forget. At night, alone on your pallet, you whisper the names of your sons, your husband, your family. You recite Bible verses remembered from childhood. You hold tight to who you are, even as outwardly you adapt to your circumstances. And adapt you do. Your body grows stronger, your hands calloused from work. You learn to move silently, to anticipate needs before they're spoken, to be useful enough to keep, but not so competent as to threaten Stoneflower's position. You learn which plants heal wounds, which berries are safe to eat, which snakes to avoid. One night, after a particularly grueling day of hide tanning, Stoneflower unexpectedly sits beside you as you eat your evening meal. "You have not tried to escape," she observes. You look up, surprised by the conversation. "Where would I go? I don't know where I am." "East," she says simply. "Always east to reach your people. You know this." You shrug, keeping your face neutral. "I wouldn't survive alone." "No," she agrees. "You would not." She studies you, head tilted. "Yet many try. They would rather die free than live as captives." "I would rather live," you say quietly, "for my sons." Something flickers in her eyes, understanding perhaps, or memory. "Your children are lost to you," she says, but the usual hardness has left her voice. "Perhaps, but while I breathe, there's hope." She nods slowly, then rises and returns to her work without another word. After that night, something shifts between you and Stoneflower. Her treatment remains stern, but the deliberate cruelty fades. Sometimes she explains why certain tasks are done a particular way, or shows you more efficient methods. Occasionally, she speaks of her own past before she became Comanche. "I was Kiowa," she tells you one day as you work together, pulverizing dried meat for pemmican. "My village was raided when I was 12 summers. My family was killed. Broken Lance took me as a slave." You look up from your work, waiting for her to continue. "I hated him," she says matter-of-factly. "I tried to kill him once with a knife I stole. He broke my arm for it." She rolls up her sleeve, showing you an old break that healed badly. "But he did not kill me. He said I had spirit. Later, he made me his wife." "Do you still hate him when I—" You dare to ask. She considers this, her hands never stopping their rhythmic pounding. "No, he is my husband now, the father of my children." She glances at you. "Hate burns too hot. It cannot be sustained." You're not so sure. Your hate for the raiders who stole your sons still burns bright, even after all these months. As if reading your thoughts, Stoneflower adds, "But you are new to this life. Perhaps in time you will see differently. Perhaps you agree, though you don't believe it." Winter approaches again. The band moves to their winter camp, a sheltered valley with plentiful wood for fires. Game is scarcer here than it was in Walking Wolf's territory, but the band has stored food: dried meat, corn, beans, wild rice gathered from wetlands to the east. Stoneflower gives you warmer clothes for the cold months, a dress of soft deer hide, leggings, moccasins lined with rabbit fur, a buffalo robe for sleeping. Not kindness, you understand, but practicality. A frozen captive can't work. Your body has adjusted to the hardship, but your heart remains wounded. You dream of your sons almost nightly. James Pratt's smile, Luther's tiny hands. You wake with tears on your cheeks, a hollow ache in your chest. Stoneflower notices but never comments. She has lost children too. She understands that some pain never truly heals. On the coldest nights, when wind howls around the teepee and snow piles against its sides, the band gathers together for storytelling. You sit at the edge of these circles, listening as elders recount tales of great hunts, mighty warriors, spirit beings who shaped the world. Your Comanche has improved enough to follow most stories, though some words and concepts remain mysterious. Sometimes they speak of raids on white settlements. You tense during these tales, scanning for any mention of Parker's Fort, any clue about your family's fate. But the stories are always about other places, other times. One bitter night, huddled near the central fire, you gather your courage and ask Stoneflower a question that has haunted you. Do you know of a band that took a white boy, about 2 summers old when captured, with red gold hair? You describe James Pratt, your voice catching. Stoneflower's face remains impassive, but her eyes soften slightly. Many children are taken in raids. I do not know of this one. Your hope dims, but doesn't extinguish completely. The Comanche nation is vast, with many bands spread across the plains. Your son could be with any of them. And the other boy, you press. The infant born in captivity. Do you know what becomes of such children? At this, Stoneflower's expression changes. Those that survive are raised as Comanche. They forget their white blood. They become warriors or wives. They forget their mothers? The question is barely a whisper. Stoneflower is silent for a long moment. Then, yes, they forget. It is better that way. Better for whom, you wonder again? Not for the mothers who carried those children, birthed them, loved them. Winter deepens. Food grows scarcer. The band's hunters return with less game each day. Meals become smaller, faces more pinched with hunger. You learn to make soup from almost nothing. A handful of dried meat, some corn, wild onions preserved from fall, whatever roots can be dug from beneath the snow. You learn to stretch every resource, to waste nothing. One morning, returning from breaking ice on the stream to fetch water, you hear commotion in camp. Riders are approaching, not Comanche, from the reaction of the lookouts. Everyone scrambles for weapons. Children are hustled into teepees, horses gathered closer to camp. Stoneflower pulls you into her teepee, her grip painfully tight on your arm. "Stay," she orders. "Be silent." Through a small opening in the teepee flap, you watch as the riders enter the camp. Mexicans, a dozen or so, leading pack mules laden with goods. Their leader raises his hands in a gesture of peace, speaking to Broken Lance in broken Comanche mixed with Spanish. Traders, not raiders or rescuers. The tension in camp eases. Broken Lance invites the traders to a fire. Goods are unloaded, displayed, metal pots, knives, bolts of cloth, glass beads, tobacco, sugar, coffee, luxuries in this harsh wilderness. The trading continues all day, each item haggled over extensively. The Comanche offer buffalo robes, horses, crafted items, and pemmican in exchange. You remain in the teepee as ordered, but strain to hear the conversations outside. The traders might have news of the settlements, of rescue parties, of other captives. As dusk approaches, the trading concludes. The Mexicans are invited to share a meal before departing. Stone Flower enters the teepee, her arms full of new acquisitions, a metal pot, coloured beads, a length of bright cloth. "Come," she says, "help prepare food for our guests." You follow her to the cooking fire, where other women are already working. As you kneel to help, you catch snippets of conversation between Broken Lance and the Mexican leader. "White captives?" the trader is asking in his mix of languages. Your heart leaps. Are they looking for captives to ransom? Could this be your chance? Broken Lance's response is curt, dismissive. The trader persists, mentioning payment, mentioning names you can't quite hear. You edge closer, pretending to tend the fire, straining to listen. "Plumber woman?" the trader asks. "Your name. They're asking about you." Broken Lance glances your way, catching your eye. You freeze, a deer spotting a hunter. He says something to Stoneflower, who immediately comes to your side, gripping your arm again. "Inside," she hisses. "Now." She drags you back to the teepee, pushes you roughly to your sleeping place. "Stay," she orders again, her voice hard. "They're looking for me," you say, a statement, not a question. Stoneflower's face is unreadable. "Perhaps. My father, my husband, I do not know." "Please," you whisper, desperation clawing at your throat. "If they're offering ransom, be silent," she snaps. Broken Lance will decide. She leaves, tying the teepee flap closed behind her. You're trapped inside, unable to see what's happening, unable to make yourself known to the traders. Frustration builds within you, threatening to explode into screams. You pace the small space, ears straining for any sound. Voices rise and fall outside, but you can't make out words. Time stretches endlessly. Finally, after what seems like hours, Stoneflower returns. Her expression tells you everything before she speaks. "They are gone," she says flatly. "Did they ask for me specifically? By name? You need to know if your family is searching, if there's still hope." She hesitates, then nods. "They asked for Rachel Plummer. Your family is looking for you." The knowledge is both balm and torture, healing to know you're not forgotten, agonizing to be so close to rescue and yet still captive. "Why didn't Broken Lance sell me to them?" Your voice breaks on the question. Stoneflower sits beside you, unexpectedly gentle. "You are valuable, a good worker, and..." She stops, seeming to weigh her words. "Mexican traders cannot be trusted. They might promise ransom, but sell you instead." "Sell me? To whom?" "To men in Mexico. Bad men." Her meaning becomes clear from her expression. You shudder. Perhaps remaining with the Comanche is not the worst fate after all. "But my father," you begin, "if he sent them..." "If your father comes himself, that is different," Stoneflower interrupts. Broken Lance respects a father's claim, but not traders. A small hope to cling to. "If your father can find you, rest now," Stoneflower says, rising. "Tomorrow is the same as today. Work continues." But tomorrow isn't the same, because now you know with certainty that you haven't been forgotten, that someone is looking for you. The knowledge sustains you through the remainder of winter, through days of hunger and cold, through nights of loneliness and grief. You work harder than ever, determined to survive until rescue comes. You listen more carefully to conversations, alert for any mention of traders, of ransom, of white settlers. You study the stars at night, fixing the directions in your mind, noting landmarks that might help you navigate if escape becomes possible. Spring arrives gradually, snow melting, new green appearing on the plains. The band prepares to leave their winter camp, heading north to follow the buffalo herds. You help pack the teepees, load the travois, secure the children for travel. As you're working, Broken Lance approaches. He rarely speaks to you directly, preferring to issue commands through stone flour. His sudden presence makes you nervous. "White woman," he says in halting English. "Traders come again, soon." Your heart races. "For me?" He studies your face, inscrutable. "Maybe. We see." It's the most he's ever said to you. You don't know if it's a warning or a promise. The band moves north over the next weeks, stopping frequently to hunt or gather early spring plants. You mark each campsite in your mind, trying to maintain your sense of direction, your mental map of this vast territory. At a river crossing, you spot something that makes your blood run cold. A white man's scalp hanging from a warrior's lance. The red-gold hair is so similar to Luther's, to James Pratt's, that for a moment you think it belongs to one of your sons. Reason prevails. The scalp is too large for a child, but the sight renews your determination to escape this life, to find your children before they grow up as Comanche, perhaps someday taking scalps of their own people. The spring grass grows tall and green. The full moon rises, casting silver light across the plains. Comanche moon, the settlers call it. Raiding season approaches. Warriors gather in council, planning expeditions south toward the settlements. You listen when you can, hoping to learn something useful about your family, about Parker's fort, about other captives. One night, as you're gathering firewood at the edge of camp, a young warrior approaches you. He's 16 or 17, with a scar across his chin that looks fresh, perhaps from his first battle. "White woman," he says softly in Comanche, "I know you." You stand very still, wary of his intentions. Young warriors can be the cruelest to captives, eager to prove their manhood through dominance. "I was at the fort," he continues, "the one with the tall walls. I saw you with the child." Parker's fort. He was there during the raid. "My son," you say carefully. "Do you know what happened to him, to James Pratt?" The young warrior glances around, ensuring no one is watching this forbidden conversation. "He lives with Yellow Wolf's band. They call him Little Antelope now. James Pratt is alive." The knowledge hits you like a physical blow. Your firstborn son, your baby, is alive. "Where?" you ask urgently. "Where is Yellow Wolf's band?" "Oh, south, near the big water," he gestures vaguely. 3, maybe 4 days' ride. "And my second son, the baby born in captivity, Luther?" The young warrior shakes his head. "I do not know this one. It's still something, more than you've had in almost 2 years of captivity." James Pratt lives. He has a new name, a new family, but he lives. "Why tell me this?" you ask. The young warrior touches the crucifix hanging around his neck, a trophy taken from some raid, no doubt, but he seems to attribute special power to it. "The Jesus God may be watching," he says simply. Then he melts back into the shadows, leaving you with your precious new knowledge. That night, as you lie on your pallet, you whisper your son's name over and over. James Pratt, James Pratt, not Little Antelope. James Pratt, as if by repeating it you can somehow reach across the distance and remind him of who he truly is. Yellow Wolf's band, near the big water, south, 3 or 4 days' ride. You fix these details in your mind, another piece of the mental map you're constructing, another reason to stay alert, stay strong, stay ready. Because someday, somehow, you will find a way out of captivity, and when you do, you will not go east to the settlements without your sons. You will go south to Yellow Wolf's band. You will find James Pratt. This new purpose burns within you, stronger than grief, stronger than fear. It carries you through each day of work, each night of loneliness. It becomes your secret, your strength, your reason to endure. And though you don't know it yet, salvation is closer than you think. The traders Broken Lance mentioned are indeed coming again, and this time they carry specific instructions from a man who has spent 2 years searching the plains for his daughter. Your father is coming for you, Rachel Parker Plummer, and he will not be denied. The traders arrive on a clear spring morning, their approach spotted by lookouts long before they reach camp. 6 men on horseback, leading pack mules laden with goods. Mexicans again, but different from the previous group. Stoneflower orders you to stay in the teepee, out of sight. But this time, you position yourself near a small gap in the hides where you can watch, listen. You can't miss this opportunity again. The lead trader dismounts, greeting Broken Lance with formal gestures of peace. Through your limited grasp of Spanish and Comanche, you piece together fragments of their conversation. They have come specifically to trade for captives. They mention white settlements. They mention payment. They mention a man named Parker, your father. It must be. Your heart pounds so loudly you fear it will give away your hiding place. The trading begins as before, knives, pots, cloth, tobacco laid out for inspection, but this is merely preliminary, you sense. The real negotiation hasn't started yet. As the day progresses, you grow increasingly anxious. What if Broken Lance refuses again? What if he suspects a trap? What if you're so close to freedom but remain just out of reach? Stoneflower enters the teepee at midday, bringing food. Her face is unreadable as always, but something in her movements suggests tension. "Are they here for me?" you ask directly. She doesn't answer immediately, busying herself with rearranging items in the teepee. Finally, she turns to you. "Yes," she says simply. "Will Broken Lance sell me to them?" Stoneflower sighs, a rare display of emotion. "It is being discussed." "Please," you say, reaching for her hand. She allows the contact, another surprise. "Please, help me. I have children to find." For a long moment, she studies your face. Then, "I was once like you, a captive who had lost everything. Now I am Comanche." She pauses. "But I have not forgotten what it is to be a mother seeking her children. It's as close to an alliance as you're likely to get." You squeeze her hand in gratitude. "Stay here," she says, pulling away. "I will speak with my husband." The afternoon stretches endlessly. You pace the small confines of the teepee, straining to hear the negotiations outside. Voices rise and fall, Broken Lance's commanding tone, the traders' persistent replies, other warriors joining the discussion, offering opinions. The light outside shifts. Shadows lengthening. They've been talking for hours. What could be taking so long? Finally, the tippy flap opens. Stoneflower enters, followed by Broken Lance and the lead trader, a weathered man with a thick mustache and calculating eyes. "This is she?" the trader asks in accented English, looking you over. Stoneflower nods. The trader steps closer, examining you as one might examine livestock at auction. "Your name? Rachel Plummer?" "Yes," you whisper, hardly daring to hope. He nods, apparently satisfied, and turns back to Broken Lance. They exchange a few more words in Comanche, then the trader leaves, and you're alone with Broken Lance and Stone Flower. What happens now, you ask, looking between them. Stone Flower translates your question for her husband. He responds at length, his expression stern. Broken Lance says you will go with the Mexicans tomorrow, Stone Flower tells you. They have paid a good price, horses, rifles, many blankets. Relief floods through you, so powerful it nearly brings you to your knees. Freedom. After almost 2 years in captivity, freedom. But then reality crashes back. Your sons, James Pratt with Yellow Wolf's band, little Luther with Walking Wolf's people. My children, you say urgently. I can't leave without my sons. Stone Flower translates again. Broken Lance's response is immediate, forceful. From his tone alone, you know the answer before Stone Flower speaks. No, she says, the boys are not part of this trade. They belong to other bands. Then I won't go, you declare, though you know it's an empty threat. Captives don't choose their fate. Tell him I won't leave without my children. Stone Flower doesn't need to translate your defiance. Broken Lance understands from your tone. His face darkens. He says something sharp to his wife, then exits the teepee abruptly. Foolish, Stone Flower hisses once he's gone. You want him to cancel the trade? To keep you here until you die? I want my sons. They are gone, she says with brutal finality. The younger one is being raised as Comanche. The older one too by now. They have forgotten you. The words cut deeper than any knife. They can't have forgotten. They're just babies. Stone Flower's expression softens slightly. Listen to me. Take this chance. Go home. If your father is looking for you, he can look for them too. But if you stay here, no one finds anyone. The logic penetrates your grief, your desperation. She's right. Refusing to leave won't bring you closer to your sons. But returning to white civilization might eventually lead to their rescue too. Go, Stone Flower urges. Find your father, then find your sons. You nod slowly, tears streaming down your face. I'll come back for them, somehow. Perhaps, she says, neither encouraging nor discouraging the notion. Now rest. Tomorrow will be difficult. Sleep is impossible. You lie awake all night, mind racing with conflicting emotions, joy at the prospect of freedom, anguish at leaving without your children, fear of what awaits you beyond Comanche territory. Will Luther remember you if you ever find him again? Will James Pratt? Will they hate you for abandoning them? No, not abandoning. You're not abandoning them. You're finding a way to save them all. Dawn breaks. Camp stirs to life around you. Stone Flower enters the teepee with a bundle of items. Your old dress, carefully preserved since your capture, though now faded and worn. A pair of moccasins, better than the ones you currently wear. A small pouch of pemmican for the journey. Put these on, she instructs, handing you the dress. The traders expect a white woman, not a Comanche. The fabric feels strange against your skin after so many months in hide clothing. It hangs loosely. You've lost weight during your captivity, but there's something powerfully symbolic in donning the garment of your former life, as if you're reclaiming a piece of yourself. Stone Flower watches you dress, her expression unreadable as always, but when you finish, she does something unexpected. She takes a small object from her own medicine pouch and presses it into your palm, a smooth stone, dark red, worn by water into a perfect oval. For protection, she says simply. The gesture touches you deeply. After all the hardship, all the cruelty, this small kindness feels monumental. Thank you, you whisper, for everything. Stone Flower nods once, acknowledging but not encouraging this moment of connection. Come, they are waiting. Outside, the camp has gathered to witness your departure. The traders stand with their horses, packs now lighter after trading their goods. Broken Lance and other warriors form a circle, faces impassive. You scan the crowd, looking for the young warrior who told you about James Pratt. He stands at the back, barely visible. When your eyes meet, he touches the crucifix at his neck, a reminder perhaps of his unexpected kindness. The lead trader gestures for you to approach. 2 of his men help you mount a mule. An awkward, shameful process in front of so many watching eyes. Your legs, accustomed to walking or riding bareback, struggle with the unfamiliar saddle. Broken Lance steps forward, says something brief to the trader, a final warning, a blessing, you can't tell. Then his eyes meet yours, and he nods once, acknowledgement of your departure, nothing more. Stoneflower stands beside him, her face a careful blank. But as the traders begin to move out, she raises her hand in a small gesture that might be farewell. The camp recedes behind you. The life you've known for nearly 2 years, the hardship, the work, the rare moments of connection, falls away with each step of your mount. You don't look back, can't bear to. Instead, you face forward toward whatever lies ahead, toward the possibility of finding your father, your sons, your way home. The traders are not particularly kind, but neither are they cruel. They treat you with detached efficiency, providing food and water, helping you on and off the mule when needed, but otherwise ignoring you. They speak Spanish among themselves, occasionally lapsing into broken English when addressing you. "Where are we going?" you ask the leader on the first night as they make camp beside a small creek. "Santa Fe," he replies. "Man there pay us for you." "My father." He shrugs. "Don't know. American man. Very rich, very angry. Rich doesn't sound like your father, but angry, yes, that fits. James Parker would move heaven and earth to find his daughter." The journey to Santa Fe takes 17 days. 17 days of slow travel across the plains through terrain that gradually changes from rolling grasslands to more rugged, arid landscape. 17 days of uncertainty, of hope mingled with fear, of grief for your sons, warring with relief at your own escape. Your body, accustomed to Comanche life, struggles with the new routine. The saddle chafes. The trader's food, heavy on beans and corn tortillas, upsets your stomach after months of a primarily meat diet. The rhythm of travel is different, slower, more structured than the Comanche way. But you adapt, as you've learned to adapt to everything. You watch the terrain, memorizing landmarks, noting the direction of travel, south then west, away from the Comanche lands, away from your sons, but perhaps toward eventual rescue for all of you. On the 11th day you see something that makes your breath catch, a white settlement in the distance, small cabins, fenced fields, smoke rising from chimneys, civilization. But the traders bypass it, continuing west. When you ask why, the leader merely shrugs. Not safe. Apaches. The mention of Apaches sends a shiver through you. You've heard stories from the Comanche about their traditional enemies, supposedly even more brutal to captives than the Comanche themselves. On the 14th day, you cross paths with another group of travelers, Mexican soldiers escorting a wagon train. The traders exchange news with them in rapid Spanish. You catch mentions of war, of Texas, of politics beyond your understanding. The soldiers stare at you with undisguised curiosity. A white woman with sun-browned skin in a faded dress and moccasins, her hair braided in the Comanche style. A curiosity, an anomaly, neither fully white nor Indian. You stare back, unashamed. Their judgment means nothing to you after all you've endured. On the 17th day, Santa Fe appears on the horizon, a sprawling adobe town nestled against mountains. The sight of so many buildings, so many people after years in the wilderness is overwhelming. Your heart races, your palms sweat. What awaits you here? The traders lead you through dusty streets, past staring townspeople, to a large house on the outskirts of town. A servant greets them in Spanish, ushers all of you into a courtyard where a woman waits, middle-aged, well-dressed, with a kind face and watchful eyes. "Welcome," she says in English, approaching you while the traders hang back. "I am Mrs. Donahoe. My husband and I have arranged for your ransom." "My father?" you ask, looking past her, expecting to see James Parker stride forward at any moment. "Is not here," she says gently, "but he has been searching for you. Word reached us of a white woman captive with the Comanche. We sent traders to find you. Disappointment crashes through you. Not your father after all. Then who are you? Why would you ransom me?" "We are Christians," she says simply, "and Americans. When we heard of your plight, we could not stand idle." The explanation seems inadequate for such generosity, but you're too exhausted, too overwhelmed to question further. "Thank you," you say, the words entirely insufficient. Mrs. Donahoe takes your arm gently. "Come inside. You need rest, food, clean clothing. We'll talk more when you're settled." The next hours pass in a blur. A bath, your first in 2 years, in a proper tub with soap and hot water, clean clothes that fit properly, a meal of beef stew and fresh bread that tastes so rich you can barely finish half before your stomach rebels, a real bed with a mattress, sheets, pillows, luxury beyond imagining after your captivity. But as night falls, as you lie in that soft bed staring at an unfamiliar ceiling, grief overwhelms you again. Your sons are still out there, living as Comanches, perhaps believing themselves orphaned or abandoned. The comfort surrounding you feels like a betrayal of their continued captivity. Morning brings more clarity. Colonel Donahoe, Mrs. Donahoe's husband, joins you for breakfast, a distinguished man with military bearing and direct manner. "Mrs. Plummer," he begins formally, "I understand you have children still in captivity. The acknowledgement of your loss, spoken so plainly, brings fresh tears to your eyes. You nod, not trusting your voice. I have contacts among the traders who deal with the Comanche." He continues, "I will make inquiries about your sons." Hope flares within you. "You would do that?" "I cannot promise success," he cautions. "Child captives are rarely ransomed. The tribes consider them their future, but I will try." "Thank you," you whisper. "It's more help than you expected, more hope than you've had in months." "Now," he says, his tone shifting to practical matters, "we must consider your return to Texas. It's not a simple journey. There are dangers, hostile tribes, Mexican patrols, the elements themselves." "I don't care about dangers," you say firmly. "I want to go home, to find my husband, my father, to organize a proper search for my sons." Colonel Donahoe nods, respecting your determination, if not entirely approving of it. "I have business in Missouri soon. We can travel together as far as Independence. From there, arrangements can be made for your return to Texas. It's not ideal. Independence is still far from Texas, but it's a start. When do we leave?" 2 weeks, he says. "You need time to regain your strength, and there are matters I must settle here first." 2 weeks feels like an eternity when your children are still captives, but you understand the necessity. Your body is worn from captivity and the long journey to Santa Fe. You need time to readjust, to remember how to be Rachel Plummer rather than just a nameless captive. The days in Santa Fe pass slowly. Mrs. Donahoe is kindness itself, providing clothes, books, gentle company, but you find it hard to concentrate on reading after so long without books. You struggle to make conversation about normal things, the weather, food, household matters, when your mind is still half with the Comanche, with your sons. Sometimes you wake in the night in a panic, reaching for weapons that aren't there, listening for sounds of the camp. The soft bed feels wrong, too yielding. The quiet of the house is eerie after the constant noises of tribal life. Mrs. Donahoe notices your difficulties but never comments directly. Instead, she finds ways to help you readjust gradually, giving you simple tasks to occupy your hands, taking you on short walks to reacquaint you with town life, sharing stories of her own adjustments to frontier living. "It will come back to you," she assures you one evening as you struggle to remember how to use a fork properly. The body remembers, even when the mind forgets. You hope she's right. You hope you can become fully Rachel Parker Plummer again and not remain this strange hybrid, outwardly white but inwardly marked forever by your time with the Comanche. On the 10th day of your stay, a messenger arrives at the Donahoe's home. Colonel Donahoe reads the letter he brings, then comes to find you in the garden where you're helping Mrs. Donahoe tend vegetables, an activity that feels comfortingly familiar after your time with the tribe. "Or news," he says without preamble. "From my contacts among the traders." Your heart stops. "My sons?" His expression tells you it's not entirely good news. The younger one, Luther, you called him? There is no word, but the older boy, James Pratt, is indeed with Yellow Wolf's band, as you were told. Can they ransom him? The question bursts from you, desperate, hopeful. Colonel Donahoe hesitates. They tried. Yellow Wolf refused. The boy is being raised as his son now. The news is both blessing and curse. Confirmation that James Pratt lives, that the young warrior told you true, but also confirmation that Yellow Wolf has no intention of returning him. "I'll get him back," you say, with a conviction that surprises even you. Somehow? Colonel Donahoe doesn't argue, but his expression is doubtful. He's seen too many captive children absorbed into tribal life, too many failed rescue attempts. The remaining days before your departure pass in a haze of preparation. Mrs. Donahoe helps you pack suitable clothing for the journey, gives you a journal to record your experiences, presses small gifts upon you, a comb, a mirror, a shawl for cold evenings. "To help you remember who you are," she says softly when you try to refuse these luxuries. Colonel Donahoe arranges the practical details: horses, supplies, the route to independence. He will travel with a small party of trusted men, all armed, all experienced in frontier travel. On the morning of departure, Mrs. Donahoe embraces you warmly. "God be with you, Rachel Plummer," she says. "You have survived the unsurvivable. You will find your way home." You cling to her briefly, this kind woman who rescued you from captivity, who treated you with dignity when you'd forgotten what that felt like. "Thank you," you whisper, "for everything." The journey to independence begins, another long trek across unfamiliar terrain, but this time toward home rather than deeper into captivity. Colonel Donahoe proves an efficient, if not particularly warm, travelling companion. His men are respectful, keeping a careful distance from you, treating you with a deference that feels strange after being property for so long. You ride astride a proper horse now, not a mule. Another adjustment. Your body remembers the rhythms of riding from your time with the Comanche, but the saddle still feels awkward, confining. Sometimes, when the men aren't watching, you shift to riding bareback, finding comfort in the familiar feel of the horse beneath you. The landscape changes as you travel east, the arid mountains giving way to rolling plains again. Each day brings you closer to Texas, to home, to the possibility of finding your family, of organizing a search for your sons. But each day also brings new anxieties. What if Luther and James Pratt forget you completely? What if Luther has already died, as so many infant captives do? What if your husband has given you up for dead, perhaps even remarried? What if your father has abandoned his search? These thoughts plague you at night as you lie beneath the stars, wrapped in blankets beside the campfire. The men take turns standing watch, alert for danger. Hostile Indians, bandits, wild animals. But the greatest dangers are in your own mind, your own heart. One night, unable to sleep, you join Colonel Donohoe at the edge of camp where he stands guard, rifle ready. "Do many captives escape?" you ask quietly, not wanting to wake the others. He considers the question carefully before answering. "Few, very few. Most die in captivity or become..." He hesitates. "Become what?" "Indian," he says bluntly. "In all but blood. They forget their white lives, their white families, especially the children." The words chill you despite the warm night. "I didn't forget," you say defensively. "I never forgot." "You're unusual," he acknowledges. "Most break under such conditions, but you were only captive for 2 years and you were grown with formed memories. Children," he shrugs, "children adapt. They survive by becoming what their captors want them to be." The truth of his words cuts deep. James Pratt was only a toddler when taken. Luther, just an infant. How much will they remember of you, of their true heritage? "I won't give up on them," you say stubbornly. Colonel Donohoe nods, neither encouraging nor discouraging. "Get some sleep, Mrs. Plummer. Tomorrow is another long day." The journey continues, across Missouri Territory, into more settled lands. You pass small homesteads, occasional trading posts. Civilization slowly reasserts itself around you. At each stop, Colonel Donohoe makes inquiries about conditions in Texas, about routes south, about your family. News is scarce, often outdated, but you piece together fragments. Texas is now a republic, independent from Mexico. There have been more Comanche raids. Some captives have been recovered. Others lost forever. Nothing specific about your family, though. No word of James Parker's search for you, of Luther Plummer's fate. You exist in a strange limbo, no longer captive but not yet truly free, not until you know what awaits you in Texas. Independence, when you finally reach it, is a shock to your system. A proper town with streets, shops, churches, schools, people everywhere, more than you've seen in one place since before your captivity. The noise, the smells, the constant motion overwhelm your senses. Colonel Donohoe takes you to a respectable boarding house run by a widow, arranges for your stay. "I have business here for several weeks," he explains. "Then I must return to Santa Fe, but I'll help you find passage to Texas before I leave." You thank him, though the prospect of waiting weeks more is agonizing. Every day is another day your sons spend as captives, another day they forget you a little more. The widow who runs the boarding house is curious about you, your story. Word spreads quickly in a small town like Independence. A woman ransomed from the Comanche, a mother separated from her children. People stare when you walk down the street. Some whisper behind their hands. Others approach directly, asking invasive questions about your captivity, your survival. You answer politely but briefly, sharing only what you must. These strangers don't deserve the intimate details of your suffering, your loss. Those belong to you alone. In the boarding house's small parlour one evening, you find a Bible, the first you've seen in 2 years. You open it with trembling hands, the familiar words both comfort and pain. How many times during your captivity did you recite verses from memory, clinging to this connection to your past, your faith? Your finger traces familiar passages. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." You have walked through that valley. You have survived. Now the journey continues, toward home, toward family, toward the sons who may be lost to you forever, but whom you will never stop seeking, because you are Rachel Parker Plummer and your story is far from over. Independence, Missouri becomes your temporary home as autumn arrives. The leaves turn gold and red, the air grows crisp, and still you wait for passage to Texas. Colonel Donahoe has been true to his word, making inquiries about transport south, but safe routes are scarce in these uncertain times. "The situation is complicated," he explains one evening, visiting you at the boarding house. "Mexico does not recognize Texas independence. There are patrols, military movements, and the Comanche raids continue along the borders. You've grown accustomed to the widow's boarding house, to the small room with its narrow bed and faded wallpaper, to the routine of meals with other boarders, travelling salesmen, a school teacher, a minister and his wife, to the whispers that follow you in town, the sidelong glances, the occasional boldly asked question about your time with the savages." You answer politely, revealing little. How could these well-meaning townspeople possibly understand what you've lived through? How the Comanche world becomes its own reality when you're immersed in it day after day? How you can both hate your captors and recognize their humanity? Some nights you wake gasping from dreams where you're still with the tribe, still searching for your sons amid the teepees. Other nights you can't sleep at all, lying awake as you plan what you'll do when you reach Texas, how you'll organize searches for James Pratt and Luther. During the day, you write in the journal Mrs. Donahoe gave you, recording everything you can remember about your captivity, about the Comanche way of life, about what happened at Parker's Fort. The writing is painful but necessary. Your testimony may help others, may help locate other captives, may prevent future attacks. You write of Walking Wolf, of Nahima, of Stoneflower and Broken Lance, of the young warrior with the crucifix who told you about James Pratt, of daily life in the camps, the food, the customs, the beliefs, of small kindnesses amid the cruelty, of everything you learned to survive. Some pages are stained with tears, those where you write of your sons, of James Pratt's laugh, his chubby hands reaching for you, of little Luther nursing at your breast, his tiny fingers curling around yours, of the agony of separation. The widow who runs the boarding house, Mrs. Simmons, becomes something of a friend. She brings you extra blankets on cold nights, saves the best portions at meals, defends you from the more intrusive questions of other boarders. She lost a son to fever years ago, she tells you, and something in your grief calls to hers. "You'll find them," she says one evening as you sit together by the fire, darning socks, a domestic task that feels both foreign and familiar after your time with the Comanche. "I believe that with all my heart. You appreciate her kindness, her faith, even if you can't fully share it. The odds are against you and you know it, but you nod and smile, not wanting to dampen her hopeful spirit." October turns to November. The first snow falls, dusting Independence in white. Colonel Donahoe brings news at last. A wagon train heading to Texas, willing to take you along. Merchants mostly, with a small armed escort. Not ideal, but safer than travelling alone. "They leave in 3 days," he tells you. "Be ready." You pack your few possessions, the clothes Mrs. Donahoe gave you, your journal, the red stone from Stoneflower that you keep as a strange talisman. Mrs. Simmons contributes a warm shawl, food for the journey, a letter of introduction to her cousin in Houston, should you pass that way. The night before departure, Colonel Donahoe visits one last time, bringing an unexpected gift. A small pistol, easily concealed in a pocket or sleeve. "For protection," he says gruffly. "The journey isn't without risk." You take the weapon, surprised by its weight in your palm. "I don't know how to use this." He shows you how to load, aim, fire. Your hands shake slightly. You've never been comfortable with guns, even before your captivity. But frontier life has taught you hard lessons about vulnerability, about the need for defense. Thank you, you say, tucking the pistol into your bag. For everything. I wouldn't be here without your help. Colonel Donahoe nods awkwardly, uncomfortable with gratitude. I've written to contacts in Texas, he says. People who might help you find your family, your sons. The letters are in your bag. This final kindness nearly breaks you. You've been so focused on simply getting home that you've scarcely allowed yourself to think beyond that, to the practical challenges of finding your family, organizing searches for your sons. These letters might make all the difference. God bless you, Colonel, you say softly. He clears his throat, nods again, and takes his leave with a formal bow. You will likely never see him again, this stern man who helped rescue you from captivity. Another person to remember in your prayers. Dawn breaks cold and clear on departure day. The wagon train assembles at the edge of town. 10 wagons loaded with goods, 20 men armed with rifles, 3 women besides yourself making the journey. Merchants' wives, you learn, returning to Texas after visiting family in the East. They eye you curiously but kindly as you join them in the back of a wagon. News of your history has preceded you, of course. Nothing stays secret in a small town like Independence. Mrs. Plummer, one introduces herself, a plump, motherly woman with kind eyes. I'm Abigail Watson, this is Mary Green and her daughter Sarah. We're pleased to have your company. You nod politely, introduce yourself properly. The formality feels strange after so long among the Comanche, where introductions are minimal and status determined by action rather than words. The wagons roll out of Independence as the sun clears the horizon. You don't look back. Your gaze is fixed southward, toward Texas, toward home, toward whatever remains of your former life. The journey is slow, the wagons heavy with goods, the roads sometimes little more than rutted tracks through wilderness, but it's progress, each day bringing you closer to your destination. The women are kind, including you in their conversations, their meals, their evening prayers around the fire. You share some details of your captivity when they ask, but not the worst parts, not the beatings, the starvation, the taking of your sons. Those wounds are still too raw. Abigail Watson has a particular gentleness about her. She notices when you withdraw into silence, when memories overwhelm you. She doesn't press, just offers quiet company, a hand on your shoulder, a cup of tea made from leaves she's brought from Independence. My brother was taken by Indians when I was a girl, she tells you one evening as you sit together by the fire. Shawnee, not Comanche. He was only 9. Did he come back? You ask, hope flaring despite yourself. She shakes her head slowly. No, we searched for years. My father nearly drove himself mad looking. We never found him. She pauses, staring into the flames. But sometimes I like to imagine he survived, that he made a life among them, that he found some kind of happiness. It's meant as comfort, you know, the idea that captives can adapt, can survive, can perhaps even thrive in their new lives, but it cuts in 2 directions. If your sons adapt too well, they may never want to return, even if found. The wagon train moves steadily southward, crossing into Indian territory. Everyone grows more watchful here, the men keeping rifles close at hand, guards posted each night. This is contested land, claimed by multiple tribes, frequented by bandits and deserters. You find yourself scanning the horizon constantly, alert for signs of Comanche presence. Not out of fear, exactly, but a strange, complex longing. What if Walking Wolf's band is nearby? What if Luther is just beyond that next ridge? The odds are astronomical, you know, but still you look. One night, you dream of Stone Flower. She stands at the edge of camp, watching you with those inscrutable eyes. Go home, white woman, she says in your dream, but remember what you learned with us. You wake with tears on your cheeks, the red stone clutched in your hand. What did you learn with the Comanche? To survive, to endure, to find strength in the darkest places. Lessons paid for dearly, but yours forever now. December arrives, the weather growing colder. The wagon train crosses the Red River into Texas at last. Texas, the republic you've dreamed of reaching for so long, the place where your journey began, where Parker's Fort stood, where your family might still be searching for you. Your heart beats faster as you enter familiar territory. Not the specific landscape, you're far from Parker's Fort still, but the feel of it. The quality of light, the smell of the air, the plant life. Texas. The wagon master plans to travel to Houston, but you need to reach the settlements farther north, closer to where Parker's Fort stood. In a small trading post along the way, you make inquiries, using Colonel Donahoe's letters of introduction to gain assistance. The trader, a grizzled man named Sutton, reads one of the letters carefully, then looks up at you with new respect. Colonel Donahoe vouches for you personally, he says. That carries weight. I'll help however I can. I need to find my family, you explain. The Parkers, the plumbers, they were at Parker's Fort when it was raided by Comanches 2 years ago. Sutton scratches his beard thoughtfully. Parker's Fort? That was a bad business. Heard about it even down here. He considers for a moment. I know a man heading north tomorrow. Ranger, name of Nixon. He might take you along if you don't mind hard riding. Nixon. The name strikes a chord. Lorenzo Nixon, you ask, hardly daring to hope. That's him. You know him. He's my brother-in-law, you whisper, scarcely believing such luck. Married to my sister. Sutton's weathered face breaks into a smile. Well, ain't that something? Wait here, I'll fetch him. He disappears, leaving you trembling with anticipation. Lorenzo Nixon. Family. The first concrete connection to your past life. When Sutton returns, a tall man accompanies him, bearded, travel-worn, eyes widening in shock as they land on you. Rachel, he says hoarsely. Rachel Parker Plummer. Lorenzo, you confirm, voice breaking. It's me. He crosses the room in 3 long strides and enfolds you in a crushing embrace. You stiffen initially, unaccustomed to such contact after years of captivity. Then relax into the familial touch, tears streaming down your face. We thought you were dead, he says, pulling back to look at you properly. After so long with no word, most assumed. I survived, you say simply. The Comanche kept me as a slave. Mexican traders ransomed me near Santa Fe. I've been trying to get home ever since. His face darkens at the mention of your captivity. Your father never gave up, he tells you. James Parker has been searching for you since the day of the raid. He's organized parties, negotiated with traders, traveled hundreds of miles. My father is alive. Joy surges through you. And Luther, my husband? Lorenzo's expression shifts, a shadow crossing his features. Luther is Rachel. There's much to tell you, but not here. He glances around the trading post at the curious onlookers who've gathered, drawn by the emotional reunion. I'm heading to Houston tomorrow, then north to where your father's staying. You'll come with me. You agree instantly. Whatever news awaits, good or ill, you need to hear it from family in privacy. That night, you sleep little, your mind racing with questions. Lorenzo has told you only that your father lives, that he's been searching for you. The rest, he says, should wait until you're together. His reticence about Luther worries you deeply. Is your husband dead? Remarried? Bitter about your captivity? And what of James Pratt? Has there been any word of him? Any sightings? Any attempts at ransom? Morning comes, and with it preparations for departure. You say farewell to the wagon train companions who brought you this far. Abigail Watson embraces you warmly. Go with God, Rachel Plummer, she says. Find your sons. I will, you promise. Whether God listens or not, you've made the vow. Lorenzo has 2 horses, his own sturdy gelding and a smaller mare for you. Can you ride? He asks, eyeing you with concern. It's a hard journey. You almost laugh. After months on horseback with the Comanche, riding is one of the few skills you're completely confident in. I can ride, you assure him. Indeed, once mounted, you settle into the familiar rhythm with ease, your body remembering the motions even after months away from the Comanche. Lorenzo notices, raising an eyebrow. The tribe traveled constantly, you explain. Everyone rides, even children, as soon as they can sit up. He nods, not pressing for details. He seems to understand instinctively that some aspects of your captivity are too painful to discuss, at least for now. The journey with Lorenzo is faster than the wagon train, covering twice the distance each day. He's a ranger, accustomed to hard riding, to sleeping rough, to constant vigilance. You match his pace without complaint. After Comanche captivity, this journey is almost comfortable by comparison. At night, camped beside small fires, Lorenzo gradually tells you of events since your capture, the aftermath of the Parker's Fort massacre, the searches for captives, the continued Comanche raids on other settlements. Your father has been like a man possessed, he says, poking the fire with a stick, traveling to every Comanche camp that would receive him, dealing with Mexican traders, army officers, anyone who might help. He spent every penny he had, gone into debt. Nothing mattered except finding you and the others. The others, you ask? Elizabeth Kellogg, the Parker children. Lorenzo nods. Elizabeth was ransomed fairly quickly. She's safe, living near Nacogdoches now. He hesitates. Cynthia Ann and John Parker are still with the Comanche. No one's been able to locate them specifically. And my sons, James Pratt, Luther? Lorenzo's face grows solemn. Rachel, he begins, then stops, seeming to search for words. There have been reports, rumours of a white child with Yellow Wolf's band. Your father believes it's James Pratt. He's tried to negotiate, but so far without success. This confirms what you already knew from the young warrior, from Colonel Donahoe's contacts. James Pratt lives, but remains captive. And Luther, my husband? You press, needing to know, dreading the answer. Lorenzo stares into the fire for a long moment before answering. Luther searched for you for months after the raid, he says finally. He joined every expedition, followed every lead, but after a year with no word, he pauses, steeling himself. The fever took him, Rachel, last summer. The words hit like a physical blow. Luther, gone. Your husband, who loved you, who fathered your sons, who searched for you until illness claimed him, gone. You've imagined many scenarios during your captivity, during your journey home, joyful reunions, bitter accusations, emotional reconciliations, but not this, not returning to find Luther already in his grave. How, you ask, voice barely audible. The cholera, Lorenzo says gently. It swept through the settlements. Many died. Luther had worn himself down with searching, with worry. He didn't have the strength to fight it. You nod, numb, another loss to absorb, another grief to carry. It seems endless, the toll of the frontier, of the Comanche raids, of captivity. I'm sorry, Rachel, Lorenzo says, awkwardly patting your shoulder. He was a good man. He loved you. I know. You whisper, and you do know. Despite your years apart, despite all that's happened, you remember Luther's love, his goodness, his devotion to you and James Pratt. That, at least, the Comanche couldn't take from you. The journey continues northward. Days pass in a blur of riding, camping, more riding. The landscape grows more familiar as you approach the region where Parker's fort once stood. Not that you'll return there. Lorenzo has explained that your father now stays with relatives near the Brazos River. But the territory itself sparks memories. Here, a creek where you once washed clothes. There, a stand of trees where Luther cut wood for the fort. Everywhere, echoes of your former life. One afternoon, riding through a stretch of prairie dotted with wildflowers, Lorenzo points to the horizon. There, he says, that's Harris Creek. Your father's staying with the Frosts just beyond that ridge. Your heart pounds as you crest the hill and see the homestead below. A sturdy cabin. Fields newly planted, smoke rising from the chimney. Home. Not your home, specifically, but a home where your father waits, where family awaits. Lorenzo fires his rifle into the air, a common signal of approach on the frontier, alerting the household to visitors without causing alarm. Almost immediately, figures emerge from the cabin, shading their eyes, looking toward you. One man steps forward, tall and straight despite his years. Even at this distance, you'd know him anywhere. Father, you whisper. You spur your horse forward, no longer caring about proper pace or caution. Lorenzo calls something after you, but you don't hear, don't care. All that matters is closing the distance between you and James Parker, your father, the man who never stopped searching for you. As you draw closer, you can see his face, aged beyond his years, lined with grief and determination, eyes widening in disbelief as he recognizes you. "Rachel," he calls, voice breaking. "My God, Rachel!" You dismount before your horse fully stops, nearly falling in your haste, and then you're running toward him as he runs toward you, colliding in an embrace so fierce it knocks the breath from your lungs. "Rachel," he sobs, holding you as if afraid you'll vanish. "My daughter, my Rachel." You cling to him, unable to speak through your tears. After everything, the raid, the captivity, the long journey home, you're here in your father's arms. Not everything is restored, not everyone is found, but this, at least, this moment of reunion is real. More people gather around. Your sister Martha, Lorenzo's wife, weeping with joy, cousins you barely remember, neighbors who've heard stories of the captive daughter, all watching in wonder as James Parker holds his lost child returned from the dead. "I knew," he says fiercely, still clutching you. "I knew you were alive. Everyone said to give up hope, but I knew. I'm home, Father," you manage through your tears. "I'm home." The reunion continues inside the cabin, where you're given the place of honor by the fire, a cup of real coffee, your first since captivity, pressed into your hands. Questions pour forth from everyone, though your father tries to restrain them, seeing your exhaustion. "Let her rest," he insists. "There'll be time for everything." But there's one question you can't wait to ask, one that burns in your throat, demanding answer. "Father," you say when there's a momentary lull, "my sons, James Pratt and Luther, the baby born in captivity, have you heard anything? Any word at all?" James Parker exchanges glances with Lorenzo, with Martha. A silent communication passes between them. "I've heard rumours," your father says carefully, "of a white child with yellow wolf's band. I believe it's James Pratt, though I haven't seen him myself." "It is," you confirm. "A young warrior told me, and Colonel Donahoe's contacts confirmed it." Hope flares in your father's eyes. "You've had direct word? Recently?" "Last spring," you say. "Yellow Wolf calls him Little Antelope now, but he lives." Your father nods, absorbing this. "And the other? The baby?" Taken from me when he was 6 months old, you say, voice catching. Given to Walking Wolf's people to raise. I don't know if he still lives. James Parker reaches for your hand, squeezes it hard. We'll find them, Rachel, both of them. Now that you're home, now that we know where to look, we'll find them. You want to believe him, need to believe him. But the frontier is vast, the Comanche bands, numerous and mobile, the chances of recovery slim. You've seen how the tribes treasure their child captives, how quickly the little ones adapt to new lives. Lorenzo told me about Luther, you say softly, about the cholera. Your father's face creases with sympathy. I'm sorry, daughter. He was a good man. He never stopped looking for you, never lost faith. I know. The grief is still too new, too raw to fully process. You'll mourn Luther properly later. For now, there's too much happening, too many emotions competing for space in your heart. The conversation turns to practicalities, where you'll stay, what you'll do now, how to proceed with searching for your sons. Your father has plans already, connections with traders who regularly deal with Yellow Wolf's band, possibilities for negotiation, for ransom. As evening falls, as the cabin grows dim except for firelight, your father finally asks the question others have been too afraid to voice. "Oh, Rachel," he says gently, "what happened to you with the Comanche? We need to know to understand what we're facing with the boys." So you tell them, not everything. Some experiences are too private, too painful to share, but enough. The forced march from Parker's fort, the separation from James Pratt, the daily labor under Nahima's watchful eye, the birth of Luther, the second separation when he was taken from you, the trade to Broken Lance's band, the ransom by Mexican traders, the long journey home. They listen in silence, faces grave, sometimes tears flowing freely. Martha clutches her husband's hand so tightly her knuckles turn white. Your father's expression shifts between rage, grief, and fierce pride in your survival. When you finish, exhausted by the telling, he embraces you again. "You are the bravest person I know," he says, voice rough with emotion. "To endure all that and still come home to us. I had to," you say simply, "for my sons." That night, sleeping in a real bed in your sister's cabin, you dream not of the Comanche for once, but of Luther, your husband, not your son. He stands at the edge of a field, smiling at you as he did before the raid, before captivity, before death claimed him. "I waited as long as I could, Rachel," he says in the dream. "I'm sorry. I couldn't wait longer." You wake with tears on your face, but a strange peace in your heart. Luther is gone, but he loved you until the end. That's something to hold on to, a truth that can't be taken away. The days that follow establish a new routine. You stay with Martha and Lorenzo, helping with household tasks, relearning the rhythms of settler life. Your father visits daily, bringing news of his continuing efforts to locate your sons, to arrange ransoms. You write more in your journal, filling pages with details that might help in the search, that might prevent other raids, other captivities. The writing becomes a form of healing, a way to process all you've endured. Word spreads of your return, of your survival. Neighbors visit, curious and sympathetic. A minister comes to offer prayers, comfort. You accept their well wishes graciously, but find yourself withdrawing from too much company. After the isolation of captivity, the constant social interaction is overwhelming. At night, alone in your small bedroom, you sometimes find yourself missing aspects of Comanche life. The open sky above your sleeping place, the sounds of horses nearby, the simplicity of days measured only by sun and moon. It's a strange realization, one you share with no one. How could they understand that captivity, for all its hardship, had moments of beauty, of connection? Winter settles fully over Texas. Your father's efforts to contact Yellow Wolf's band are hampered by weather, by tribal movements. The Comanche withdraw to protected winter camps in this season, difficult to locate, reluctant to receive visitors. Spring, your father promises. In spring we'll find them. You nod, trying to believe. Spring seems impossibly distant. Another season your sons will spend away from you, forgetting their true names, their true family. Christmas comes, your first in 3 years among your own people. Martha decorates the cabin with evergreen boughs, bakes treats with precious sugar saved for the occasion. Presents are exchanged, small, homemade items, frontier luxuries. Lorenzo gives you a small knife in a leather sheath, practical for a woman who's learned frontier survival the hard way. Your father's gift is more significant, a legal document drawn up in Houston declaring your rights to Luther's property, to land grants he received for his service to Texas. You'll need it, he explains, for yourself, for the boys when they're home. When, not if. His faith remains unshaken. You give simple gifts in return, a knitted scarf for Martha, moccasins made in the Comanche style for Lorenzo, who appreciates their practicality. For your father, something more precious, pages from your journal detailing everything you know about Yellow Wolf's band, about Walking Wolf's people, information that might help in the search. He reads them immediately, hungrily, his eyes filling with tears at certain passages. "This is invaluable, Rachel," he says. "With this, we have a real chance." New Year dawns, 1839. A new year, a new beginning. You stand outside Martha's cabin as the first light breaks over the horizon, breathing the cold, clean air, feeling strangely hopeful despite everything. "I'm coming for you," you whisper to the dawn, to your sons wherever they may be. "Wait for me." The promise carries on the wind across the plains where Comanche bands roam with your children among them, a promise that will not be broken, not while you draw breath, because you are Rachel Parker Plummer and your story continues. January gives way to February. Cold rains sweep across Texas, turning paths to mud, creeks to rushing torrents. Your father's planned expeditions to Comanche territory are delayed again and again by weather, by reports of increased hostilities along the frontier. Your body has recovered from captivity, but something else plagues you now. A persistent cough, a weakness in your limbs, a fever that comes and goes. Martha fusses over you, brewing teas from frontier herbs, insisting you rest. "It's nothing," you tell her, unwilling to admit weakness after surviving so much. "Just a winter chill." But deep down, you know it's more. Your body, pushed beyond endurance for too long, is failing. The pregnancy during captivity, the harsh conditions, the malnutrition, the physical labor far beyond what your frame was built for, all have taken their toll. Still, you push through each day, helping Martha with household tasks when strength allows, working on your narrative when it doesn't. The writing has become your mission, to tell your story, to warn others of the dangers, to create a record for your sons should they ever return to white society. People need to know, you explain to your father when he questions whether revisiting these memories is good for your health. Not just about the horrors, but about the Comanche themselves, their ways, their beliefs. If we're to find peace someday, understanding must come first. He nods, recognizing your wisdom, your unique perspective bridging two worlds. "When you're stronger, we'll find someone to publish it," he promises. "In Houston, perhaps. But you fear you won't be stronger. The cough worsens, the fevers come more frequently. By March, you can barely rise from bed some days. The local doctor visits, shakes his head, offers medicine that does little. Consumption, perhaps, he tells Lorenzo privately, not realizing you can hear from the next room, or some fever caught during her time away. There's little to be done now except make her comfortable. The news doesn't frighten you as much as it might have once. Death held no terror after what you've witnessed, what you've survived. Your only regret is leaving without finding your sons, without holding them once more. Bring me paper, you tell Martha one morning after a night of particularly difficult breathing, and ink. There's more to write before I'm done. She complies, tears in her eyes. She knows what you know, that time grows short. You write feverishly when strength allows, detailing everything you can remember about the Comanche, about captivity, about survival, about the sons you lost, the husband who died searching, the father who never gave up, about a woman named Rachel Parker Plummer who endured what few could imagine and returned to tell the tale. This will be my legacy, you tell your father when he visits, finding you propped up in bed, papers scattered around you. When I'm gone, this will remain for James Pratt, for Luther, for others who might be taken. Don't talk that way, he protests. Spring is coming, you'll regain your strength, we'll find the boys together. But his eyes betray him. He sees the truth your wasting body reveals. March becomes April. The weather warms, trees bud, wildflowers carpet the fields. Through your bedroom window, you watch the world renew itself, even as your own life ebbs. Your manuscript is complete. Lorenzo, using connections from his ranger days, arranges for a printer in Houston to publish it. Rachel Plummer's narrative of 21 months' servitude as a prisoner among the Comanche Indians. The first such account published in the Republic of Texas, the printer writes proudly, a document of significant historical importance. You smile weakly when your father reads this letter aloud. Historical importance, as if your suffering, your loss, your survival was for the benefit of history rather than the desperate fight of a woman to return to her children, her home. But perhaps it serves both purposes. Perhaps your story will help others understand the frontier, the clash of cultures, the human cost of expansion. Perhaps it will help future captives survive, future settlers prepare, future negotiators find common ground. On January 4th, 1839, you give birth to a third child, a son, healthy and strong despite your weakening condition. You name him Wilson. Martha helps care for him, her own children doting on their new cousin. He becomes your focus, your joy in these final days. A child you can hold, can love, can watch grow, even if only for a short while. But childbirth has depleted your already fragile health. By March, you can no longer leave your bed. The cough has worsened, each breath a struggle. The doctor visits daily now, his face grave, his remedies exhausted. Your father sits with you through long nights, holding your hand as you drift between consciousness and fevered dreams. Sometimes in those dreams you see your sons, James Pratt riding a pony with Comanche skill, Luther learning to use a small bow, both growing strong in their adopted culture. You pray these visions are true, that they are thriving, even if not with you. Martha cares for little Wilson, bringing him to you when you're awake enough to hold him, to whisper promises of love, to memorize his tiny features. He has Luther's eyes, your mother's chin, a perfect blending of all who came before. On March 19th, 1839, as spring rain taps gently on the roof, you call your family to your bedside. Your father, Martha and Lorenzo, their children, the neighbors who've shown kindness. Even in your weakened state, you have things that must be said. My narrative, you begin, voice barely above a whisper. Make sure it's published. Make sure it survives. It will, your father promises. The printer has already begun the work. And search for my sons, you continue, fixing your gaze on his. Don't give up no matter how long it takes. Never, he vows, tears streaming unchecked down his weathered face, until my dying breath. Tell them about me, you say, thinking of James Pratt, of Luther, of the possibility that someday they might return to their white heritage, might read your words, might understand the mother who never stopped loving them. Tell them I came back for them, that I tried. They'll know fair, Martha sobs, clutching your hand. They'll know Rachel. Your last request is for little Wilson, the son who will survive you by only 2 days, though you cannot know this. Raise him to be strong, you whisper to Martha, to be kind, to know his brothers if they're found. She nods, unable to speak through her tears. With your affairs settled, your legacy secured, you close your eyes. The pain that has been your constant companion these past months fades. Breathing becomes easier, then unnecessary. Darkness envelops you, then light. And Rachel Parker Plummer, age 20, captive, survivor, mother, passes from this world to whatever lies beyond. The story should end here, but legacies continue long after life ends. Your narrative is published, becoming the first account of Indian captivity printed in the Republic of Texas. It spreads throughout the settlements, is reprinted in newspapers, discussed around evening fires. People read of your suffering, your courage, your endurance with horror and admiration. Your father, true to his promise, continues searching for your sons. In 1842, 6 years after the raid on Parker's fort, he receives word a white boy, about 8 years old, has been seen with a band of Comanche near San Antonio, a boy who might be James Pratt. After months of negotiation, payment of a substantial ransom, your firstborn son returns to white society, not as James Pratt Plummer, the toddler torn from your arms during the raid, but as a young Comanche warrior, speaking no English, recognizing no family, horrified by the strange pale people who claim him. Your father writes of the reunion. The boy's eyes held no recognition, no memory of his former life. He fought like a wildcat when separated from his Indian family, refusing food, attempting escape at every opportunity. It was many months before he would even speak to us in English, which he had to relearn like a foreign tongue. Slowly, painfully, James Pratt readjusts to white society. The Comanche ways never fully leave him. He rides like they taught him, moves silently as they do, keeps their stoicism in the face of emotion, but he reclaims his birth name, learns to read and write, eventually marries and fathers 4 children of his own. He never speaks of his time with Yellow Wolf's band. The memories remain his alone, a private history bridging 2 worlds. But sometimes, on clear nights when the moon is full, neighbours report seeing him sitting outside, face turned toward the western plains, a strange longing in his expression. Of Luther, your second son, no trace is ever found. Perhaps he died in infancy, as many captive children did. Perhaps he grew to manhood among Walking Wolf's people, never knowing his true origins, his true name. Perhaps, years later, a Comanche warrior with unusually light eyes wondered briefly about the strange dreams he sometimes had, of a woman with red gold hair singing soft songs in an unfamiliar language. Your father publishes his own account in 1844, 5 years after your death, narrative of the perilous adventures, miraculous escapes and sufferings of Reverend James W. Parker. In it, he includes a revised edition of your narrative as an appendix, ensuring your words reach an even wider audience. And what of the other captives from Parker's fort? Their stories diverge dramatically from yours. Elizabeth Kellogg, like you, was ransomed relatively quickly and returned to white society. She lived a quiet life afterward, rarely speaking of her brief time among the Comanche. But Cynthia Ann Parker, your young cousin, followed a vastly different path. Unlike you, who resisted assimilation, who held tight to your identity as Rachel Parker Plummer, Cynthia Ann embraced Comanche life completely. Adopted into the tribe at age 9, she grew up Comanche in every way that mattered. She married a chief named Peter Nakona, bore 3 children, including a son who would become the legendary Quanah Parker, the last great war chief of the Comanche. For 24 years, Cynthia Ann lived as Nauta, someone found, until Texas Rangers recaptured her in 1860 during a raid on her camp. Like James Pratt, she fought fiercely against return to white society, tried repeatedly to escape back to her Comanche family, mourned deeply when prevented. Unlike James Pratt, she never readapted. She died in 1870, still longing for her Comanche husband, her sons, the life that had become more real to her than her white origins. Her son Quanah, born of 2 worlds, would eventually become the bridge between them, leading his people through the difficult transition to reservation life while maintaining connections with white society, including his mother's family, a living legacy of the complex, often tragic interactions between settlers and Comanche. The raids continued for decades after your death. Other women, other children were taken, experienced their own versions of your captivity. Some returned, some remained forever with the tribes, some died in the wilderness. Each story unique, yet following patterns as old as human conflict. By the 1870s, the free-ranging days of the Comanche were ending, defeated not primarily by military might but by the systematic destruction of the buffalo herds that sustained them. They finally moved onto reservations in Indian Territory, their numbers decimated by disease, hunger, and warfare. The frontier that claimed your life, your husband's life, your children's futures, gradually disappeared. Settlements became towns, towns became cities. The Republic of Texas joined the United States, weathered the Civil War, emerged into a new era. But the echoes of those raid-filled years never quite faded. They lived on in family histories, in place names like Comanche Moon Creek, in the nightmares of survivors, in the mixed heritage of descendants like Quanah Parker, who carried both Comanche and settler blood in their veins. And they lived on in your narrative, your words preserving a unique perspective on this tumultuous period of American history, not the grand overview of politicians and generals, but the intimate experience of one woman caught in forces beyond her control, fighting desperately to survive, to return, to reclaim what was lost. Your grave in Houston is simple, marked only with your name and dates. Few visitors today would recognize its significance, would understand the extraordinary life compressed into those 20 brief years. But your words remain, your legacy continues, your story survives to be told again and again, and in that telling, something of you lives on, your courage, your endurance, your fierce maternal love that transcended captivity, that pursued your children even beyond death. The plains where Comanche once rode freely are quiet now. The thunder of their horses' hooves a distant memory. The forts built to protect settlers from raids are historical sites, tourist attractions. The bitter conflicts that shaped the frontier have faded into the past. But the human experiences, love and loss, capture and escape, the struggle to survive in hostile environments, these remain universal, timeless, connecting your life to those who come after. As night falls over what was once frontier, as modern readers drift towards sleep in beds far more comfortable than buffalo robes or straw mattresses, your story offers perspective, gratitude for simple comforts, appreciation for the relative peace of our time. Rachel Parker Plummer, settler, captive, survivor, mother, your journey ended long ago, but your words remain a whispered reminder across time of human resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. May those who hear your story tonight rest peacefully, their dreams free from the terrors you faced, their sleep untroubled by the vigilance frontier life demanded. For unlike those settlers who lived in constant fear of Comanche raids, who startled at every unusual sound, who slept with weapons close at hand, modern listeners can surrender fully to slumber, secure in their homes, surrounded by the comforts of their age. And as they drift into sleep, perhaps they'll carry a small piece of your story with them, a newfound appreciation for their own safe harbors, a moment of reflection on those who endured so much on the American frontier. Sleep well, knowing Rachel's story has been told. Rest easy, safe in your bed, far from the dangers of that long-ago time. Close your eyes and drift away, leaving the Comanche raids and frontier hardships behind, safe in the knowledge that those struggles belong only to history now.